discussed why faith is unreliable and should not be used towards getting toward as a tool to get as a pathway to truth. We've discussed it multiple times.
So,
you yourself said that it can lead you to believe in different gods. So how is your faith reliable in any way?
It's just whatever makes your life better, whatever you perceive to build up yourself, that you want to follow that.
Okay,
that's make
Miles,
your life
then we have a term that is wishful thinking.
Yeah, then Miles, I have something to pose to you. Okay, and I think that we can move on from this one. I'm just going to pose this to you real fast.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, say I'm a Christian. I believe in God. Prayer is part of my daily routine. This is what I do. Okay, this is my life. Okay? Then one day I'm in a car accident. I'm trapped in the car. I can't get out. All right. Now, because I'm in this precarious situation, my life is in danger. I pray because it's what I do. It's what I believe in. So I pray to God, and the firefighters use the jaws of life. They cut me out of the car, and my life is saved. And they're able to save my life. Now, I know that prayer, much like meditation, has a physiological effect on my body. It lowers my heart rate. It keeps me calm. It lowers my blood pressure. It increases my odds of survival. Okay, I use less oxygen. I don't panic. So therefore, the same thing applies to like trapped in cave-ins and stuff like that. So I don't panic. I focus. I keep myself calm, keep my mind calm, and I increase my odds of survival. Now, does the fact that I prayed and I survived, and that it has a physiological utility and a psychological utility, does that mean that what I'm praying to exists?
No, not at all.
There you go.
Hey, Miles. There is a way to prove to convince me that a deity exists, and I'd be happy to tell you about it if you're interested.
Maybe another time. I'll come up whenever you guys have a different event. I think I've taken a little bit too much time. You got people waiting.
No problem. It was a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for coming on.
You got it, Randolph. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Take care, bud.
Take it easy. Host, you're next in queue. I invited you up. How's it going?
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Good. What you got for us today?
Doing good.
So, what convinced me that God exists is the evolution of technology. And did you guys heard of a concept called the?
Did you say evolution of technology?
Yeah, the evolution of technology. Did you guys?
How did you attribute that to a god?
Well, I haven't finished yet. So
you're asking, had we heard of something? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, have you guys heard of the concept called Jupiter brain?
Jupiter ring.
I haven't.
Jupiter brain.
I haven't.
Yeah. So basically, is futurists predict that in the future, all matter will be computable, will have intelligence. It will be made by nanotechnology, and probably we also will integrate nanotechnology in our bodies, and we might become like artificial intelligence. We're gonna merge it, right?
You're talking about trans. You're talking about trans.
Hold on. There's a flaw in that logic, because if all matter is going to become nanotechnology, we won't have bodies anymore to inject it into.
We'd still have bodies. So yes, we're going to have nanotechnology. Why? How does this indicate God?
So anyway,
what you're referring to is transhumanism, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
So once we will reach this super advanced state of technology, we will be able to create Jupiter-sized brain. Okay.
Sure.
Like, so now imagine how smart we are right now with just this little piece of meat. Now imagine what we will become with that capacity. And
in that scenario, we don't create it.
Yes, we would.
We are no longer part of the equation.
No, we would still be.
We are the equation.
We are still building it, so we can definitely build a machine the size of Jupiter in the future, and we can make it a brain. Sure. So what is the point?
Well, the point is, at what point we can call it God.
Never.
What do you need?
Never.
No, so wait.
We can never go back in time and create the universe. We're making this bigger brain, but it can never be God.
This sounds very much like the Ray Bradbury Matryoshka brain.
Yes, it's but wait a minute.
Okay, it's science fiction.
What do you mean inside?
That was the concept was created was essentially created by Bradbury. I think his sci-fi anthology, Science at the Far Edge of Science at the Far Edge of Knowledge, where it was the idea that it was a megastructure of immense computational capacity that was so the energy was generated by a Dyson sphere. So this is far flung. This is far flung stuff, but it still doesn't jump the gap to like a god. This would just be a megastructure of immense computational power.
Yeah, well, that's what
as T-Jump said, if we create that brain in the future, that brain could not have made this universe, therefore could not be God.
Oh, well, about that, I don't think anyone made the universe. I think the universe was always there, and God is eternal in the universe. That's what I believe. So there is no creator of this universe.
But if God is already there, then how can we create him in the future?
We are God. We're just evolving into a final state. Like when you born.
Oh, wait. But do you believe that God exists now because humans may become gods in the future?
Well, if I absolutely believe that we are becoming God, then I can call myself God right now. It's just that I didn't reach all my capacity.
Yourself anything. You can't call yourself anything that you haven't become yet. So if you go to school, you might at some time acquire a PhD. That doesn't mean that you can call yourself a PhD scientist right now.
I think this is kind of what T-Jump was talking about earlier. Is this is just redefining what God is?
Yeah, and there's another problem here. Is this God you're talking about? If we are to become that, we're still dependent on all that technology. If we go somewhere else in the universe where that technology isn't available, all our powers are gone. It is not intrinsic within us. It is not a part of us yet. So that's a problem. If the technology's gone, we're back to being human, and that can be taken away. The idea with a God who's omnipotent and omniscient, etc., those are intrinsic in that deity, so those can't be taken away by some external force.
If I can become president of the United States in the future, can I call myself president of the United States right now? I just wanted to know that, just in case Trump wins the next election. Then
you have to get that shadow president out of the way first.
Well, you can if you have a.
I can.
If you have a great intelligence and you predict all your opponent moves and you know.
Now you're moving the goalpost. No. Now you're moving the goalpost because you were talking
intelligence.
No, you were talking about what I can become in the future. So I'm not there yet, but I can become that in the future.
Wait, I like this. This is a great argument. I'm gonna go up to my kid. He's 8 years old. He's gonna be like, in the future, I'm gonna be 21. So I'm gonna go to the bartender like, bro, in the future, I'm going to be 21, so just give me a drink now. It's fine.
Okay.
Cheers to you.
I like that one. I like
Wait. You removing everything that happened before that. Everything that is happening right now, you remove it in what I'm saying.
Wait, you think that would work at the bank? In the future, I'm going to have $1 million. Should just go ahead and give you the line of credit against it now?
No,
wait. I'm all ready to bring that up because the guy with the $1 billion from T-Jump from earlier, he failed to send me the $1 billion and he left the Discord server. So yeah, it's not going to work.
Okay, I have a question. So if every day $100,000 is added to your bank account, okay, and you know that this will no. It's going on. Okay, you have somebody's giving you $100,000 every day. Okay,
I would convert.
So and you know that it will keep going. Okay, there's nothing in that you can think of that will stop that. Okay, so at one point you will become millionaire, right? So if you get that money every day, and you know it will keep going, you can call yourself a millionaire.
All right, so let me take
problem,
that.
The problem with this is
if I want to pick this up. So I like his example. Good example. So let's assume there is a kid, 8 years old, and every day he's going to get a day older, and there's nothing that's going to stop this. So eventually he's going to be 21, right? So does that mean he can go to the bar today and say, "Well, I'm going to be 21, so give me a drink"?
What do you want to drink? No, we don't want to drink. You don't care about the drink. You just need to know that you will get the drink.
It's an analogy. It's actually a perfect.
I'm hearing him. I'm hearing him.
It's a perfect. Yeah, it's a perfect analogy to what you said.
No. Literally in this analogy, you gotta wait the future to get the drink. You know
No. Because according to you, you don't have to wait until the future. T-Jump made a really good point there.
I didn't say that. I just we're talking about, can we call ourselves God? Can we call ourselves millionaire? Okay, or whatever. I'm answering to that. Yes, we can, and he can say.
So his son can call himself 21 years old now.
You can say, I'm gonna be an alcoholic. Okay,
why is that different?
He's gonna have the power to drink. You know what I'm saying?
Why is that different? Because T-Jump made a really good point.
I'm sorry, what?
T-Jump made a really good point. So why is his son, who's adding a day every day, and it's going to be 21, how is that different from our intelligence growing every day towards that magnificent brain you were talking about, and we can call ourselves God right now, but his son cannot call himself 21 right now? How's that different?
No, his son cannot drink.
I'm asking, how is it different?
Well, because it's about
I'm not
time.
I'm not talking about his son not being able to drink. T-Jump said, according to your logic, the day is added every day. So according to your logic, he should be able to call himself 21 today. So he could get that drink. Forget the drink. Can he call himself 21 today?
No, he can't. He can't call himself 21.
Well, why can we call ourselves God if we're not there yet?
Well, like God cannot call himself 1 million years old if he's not 1 million years old. Even God cannot call himself 1 million years old. So if God cannot do that, I can too.
But we cannot call ourselves God for something that we're going to do in the future.
No.
We are God, so we can call
someone in
why are we God?
Somebody in the Heathen Hangout Discord chat has noted that someone on this panel redefined what prophecy was. That was Fepto, Mixed Nationalist, who was on earlier. That's pretty impressive, redefining prophecy, but I don't see where this gets us to convincing us that a deity is real right now.
Well, if you believe that we're gonna reach a Jupiter-sized brain, well, if that cannot convince you that you're gonna become God with all this technological advancement, I don't know what can. And if you don't believe that,
if you believe it,
it's okay, no problem.
Does that mean it's going to happen?
Of course, it's going to happen. Why not? Like, do you think that we can make a processor chip this size?
I can come up with a scenario. Comet will strike Earth and will obliterate all of us next week. That can happen.
Well, I'm still wondering.
It doesn't matter.
Let's say I do have a Jupiter-sized brain right now. How am I God? Like, what is your definition of God here?
Well, you will have a great, infinite intelligence, almost infinite, I would say.
Sure, I'm still not all powerful. I still can't go outside of time. I still can't create the universe.
You will simulate anything, any universe, any realities. You will control your emotions. You will become immortal. You will have all kinds of powers.
You already have that now. You can simulate creating a universe. There are computer simulations that you can make. Doesn't make you God. It doesn't make the universe that you create real because it's a simulation.
The Jupiter brain still has no knowledge outside of its own light cone, right? And so if it has no knowledge of anything outside of its own light cone, then there could be a whole bunch of Jupiter brains that just don't know about each other. It's kind of meaningless to just pick one of them and call it God, right?
No. That's a good argument. There will be other Jupiter-sized brains everywhere in the universe, and at one point, they will all start merging together.
No, they won't.
Or start fighting each other.
The light cone he mentioned earlier, if they're farther away, then the rate of the universe's expansion, then they'll never be able to communicate. So just being a really powerful brain does not mean God. You're just redefining God to be a really powerful brain. It's not the same.
Well, if you're using the religious definition of God, it's going to be very hard to convince you. Like it's mission impossible. You have to let it loose a little bit, you know. Like you got to accept some new arguments, a new way of defining God.
There's a problem with just assuming that this is inevitable, right? So, I mean, I think the thought experiments about Jupiter brains and the simulation hypothesis and all that kind of stuff are fun, but I think that there's a reason to think that they're less likely than people sometimes claim. There's a number of feasibility problems. For instance, the speed of light itself presents a communications limitation that something that is the size of a solar system is going to be the upper limit of such a communication system, probably because of the distances between space. It's going to be a very slow computer. Like the size of a computer network on the Earth affects the speed of operations between the nodes on the network. The size of something like this is going to start to present upper limits where you don't get any speed upgrade by making it bigger over larger distances because the speed of light is working against you, right? So you actually do have an upper limit on which the useful computation at the speed of light would be faster than just doing it. Like you can't make it any faster than that. You get my point? And if you try to simulate the universe with a subset of the universe, you're going to need more information to simulate the universe than the actual universe. And since we observe a universe where everything is happening to a very fine degree of detail that we can observe out to very far distances, not a universe which is like a Truman Show that only exists for our small geocentric purpose, it seems illogical to conclude that a universe as big as what we observe could be simulated with a light cone limited object the size of a solar system.
I haven't said that. I said that this brain-sized Jupiter can simulate our universe, not the universe. It will choose.
But our universe is already observed to be larger than what it could likely simulate.
I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about a universe that we will choose to simulate, a universe that we will create through that Jupiter-sized brain.
So you're saying that we would create a small universe that has less stuff in it than our universe?
A universe that we will choose the rules, the size, what's going on, what we want in it, everything. All the rules will be redefined by this Jupiter-sized brain.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem consistent with the universe that we're in now.
What?
I'm curious. Can you make a clear definition of what you mean if you use the word God?
Okay.
What is a God?
Absolute power. Absolute power in the limits of what nature can authorize.
Even your magnificent brain wouldn't have absolute power.
Well, it will have absolute power if there is a limit.
It won't.
No. Listen.
It won't.
If there is
because of the expansion of the universe, it won't.
What?
He said absolute power given the limitations of nature. So he's just saying as much power as you can have in nature. But so that's not God. That's literally not a God. So just redefining.
He's conceded that he doesn't think that we can argue that our universe is such a simulation. He's just saying that we could create some subset, some smaller universe under our control at some point in the future. Which, look, even if that is feasible, and even if you grant that, right, it doesn't really have any bearing on what we consider God. Right.
Yeah, well, you all are atheist, and you want someone to convince you that the religious biblical God exists. This is impossible. Then you all wasting your time.
It's
I'm
not
sorry.
impossible. So it is
It's
possible, but that
impossible.
doesn't. No, it's totally possible. Novel
No, it's
predictions
not.
would do it. It's very easily
Impossible.
possible. But the whole point of the conversation is, if you want to argue that some other new existing thing outside of the known science exists, show us. If you're not arguing that, then you're just wasting our time redefining things we already know about.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the beginning of what you said?
Yeah. So the point of the panel is for you to present something outside of the known physical stuff in science. And if there is such a thing, then great. That's what we're looking for. If you're just redefining things that are already known in science, you're just wasting our time. We already accept that stuff exists.
All right. Well, I got nothing to add, except I think love is a.
I have one question left. What is the God you believe in?
I believe that the world universe will become God, and we all gonna become God as one.
It will
being.
become, but what is the God? You said something convinced you when you started the conversation. So what is the God you currently believe in?
What convinced me is the evolution of life, technology, the universe. It's going in a
exactly. That convinced you of a God. That convinced you of a God. So what is the God you are now convinced of that exists?
He said us.
Well, okay. So this what's going on right now? It happened before. It will happen in the future, and this will going on forever. So this universe is there. It was never created. So if it always existed, then this universe is God. It's just going into different mode, different type of state, sleep mode or awake mode. And now we are kind of awakening.
So you and I have talked before.
Oh yeah, you lived this. You lived your life for infinity of time.
What's the evidence of you and I having talked before? Where's that evidence?
It's the probability. If the forces,
no, not a probability.
I'm gonna tell you.
I'm asking you for the evidence.
I'm gonna give you evidence. So if the forces that are in this universe are in a finite number and time is infinite, then all probability should come back an infinite number of time.
Great. That's an argument. That's not evidence.
No, that's mathematics. That's pure logic.
It's an argument, not evidence.
No, it's not an argument. It's an
evidence.
If
you and I have had a conversation in the past, then you don't have to come up with an argument. You can present the evidence of the conversation that you and I had in the past.
You have to believe in the probability. If you don't,
I don't have to believe in anything unless you come up with evidence.
That's all I can give you. That's all I can give you.
Like he said, his definition of God is just the universe in the past and stuff, multiverse. Fine, that's not God. You're just redefining God. Can we move on? Because he's just not saying anything about a God.
Sure.
He did say something about love. What was the thing about love you were going to say?
Well, I think love is is a force that governs the universe, and we can apply it to what we want for the future. And
what?
Love is a force that governs the universe. So if I go outside of outside of Earth, outside of the solar system, I'm going to die. How is that love?
No. Okay.
That is a force governing the universe.
I have to ask which type of love are you talking about? There are at least 9 different types of love that I've identified. I included a link in the text chat to my article.
Well, the love of any kind of love of money, love of wisdom, any kind of love
of money is called greed, and that's 9 out of 10 times the opposite of love, because people are killed because of greed, which has nothing to do with love.
Well, you can say I love money or I love my wife. It's the same feeling.
How is love a force in the universe? Like, is that gravity? Gravity is a force in the universe. Is love like gravity?
it's love that made us create all this civilization. So
I know you're talking about logical, objective, verifiable evidence, LOVE, right? That's an acronym I created a long time ago. Seriously, love is, I think generally you're talking about an emotion, and that is dependent on somebody, a conscious being like a human or a cat or whatever, that can actually experience these emotions to be able to have them, right? So love, to say it's a force in the universe, I think is a misunderstanding of what emotions are.
But I love that acronym. That is such a perfect acronym. I'm totally going to steal that.
It's I'll send you a link for it.
Well, I've
got a logo made up for it.
Animals can feel love, but anyway, I'm basing my argument on love and what would we love the most for the future to happen, and it will be us becoming God. That will be the ultimate answer that you can bring to the question of love, and there is no more powerful answer than this. So that's it.
That just means that God doesn't exist yet.
Well, it depends on your point of view. In my worldview,
no, it depends on what you just said. We will become God. That means God does not exist yet. If he does, we can become it.
Well, you would make a differentiation. I cannot say that way. That would mean that you are not what you will become, and it's weird, Like if I will become
you
God,
are not what you will become, because if you already if it's something you already are, then you can't become it.
Sure,
I am a human being.
No, I
am a human being. I am a human being. When can I become a human being?
I agree with you on that point. I cannot call myself God, but I still do. But I agree.
Oh, you're disagreeing with your own position.
No, I disagree with your position.
Strange. No. You're disagreeing with your own position. You said we become God, so therefore we are God.
I think
that's illogical.
I think the world universe is God, and I'm using the term God.
No. You keep going back and forth from being and becoming.
Yes.
Those are two different things. If you're becoming something, that means you're not that. What you are going to become.
You're right. So we are God with a certain amount of power, and we will become God with more power in the future.
God does not exist. So God does not exist, but he may exist in the future.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks for joining us, Post. This was
problem.
Very interesting.
See you.
Yes, thank you for coming up.
We loved you taking the time with you.
All right, so we've got Obama Dog, who was in queue earlier and then got shuffled around, but I'm pulling you up. What's going on?
How you doing, Taco? It's always a pleasure talking to all of you, Randolph, Jack, T-Jump. Too bad JL left, but
hello.
So convince you guys there's a God. Well, take a look at my profile picture, and that's all the convincing I think you'll need.
It reminds me of a picture I have of the Pope looking through a window at a conference room, and he's on the inside, and there's the door there, and the address beside the door is 666.
All right. Well, I got one more.
I don't see the address.
I think if you look at my profile pictures, there's no doubt that I'm not God.
So you presented your first proof of God. Do you have any other proofs of God?
I got a second proof. You guys know modus ponens. So if Bigfoot exists and he were to present himself visually, and then we would know he exists. Point two, if somebody had observed Bigfoot, then Bigfoot would exist. There you go. There's my proof of God.
Seeing visual presentation of him would not be sufficient for me.
No, you're supposed to say, wait, we're talking about God and not Bigfoot. And I'm supposed to say, well, how do you know Bigfoot isn't God?
I was assuming that you're going to present Bigfoot as your god. I was going to get into that next. Are you saying he is or he isn't God?
Who knows? Well, you see, the thing is Bigfoot is going to become God once he harvests the power of technology and makes himself into a big brain and then create the infinite universe from the future to the past.
No, we just argued this. You can't go back.
No. All right, I'm joking. It was fun talking to you guys. I'll let you guys get back on with the serious conversation.
I just want to quote the Sasquatch here. He says, "Believe in yourself, even when nobody else will."
We have a special guest now, Mr. Batman.com. Make sure to go to his website and buy all of his merch.
Which is nothing at the moment.
I thought you had 2 things on there. Never mind. I might have been wrong.
No, that's just stuff I'd made back when I didn't have the equipment to make the stuff myself. So I pretty much make my own shirts and tubs and things.
The new Mr. Batman logo on your profile picture looks really good.
Thank you, sir. I created that myself.
How are you going to avoid a civil or a copyright lawsuit from DC?
I was going to ask. So why are you, as a Christian, going against one of the 10 commandments, that is, "Thou shalt not steal"?
Hey! To be fair,
actually, I'm not stealing anything, sir, because it's just a bat. My name is my name.
You are stealing artwork.
Hey, come on! We're off topic. Here. We need to stay on topic, guys. Come on.
So, convince us a god or gods or goddess or whatever you believe in it exists.
Oh, no problem, sir. Because you already know that he exists. So let me ask you a question. Where does time, space, and matter come from, and how do you know it?
Okay, first of all, I have to reject your unsupported assumption that I already know it, because I don't know it.
Yeah.
Okay, do you know anything at all? Do you know anything at all?
Yes.
Yeah, I know some.
What is knowledge, and where does that come from?
The knowledge I have comes from my recollections of things I've learned over time.
Well, in order for you to have recollections of things that you've learned over time, you require some necessary preconditions for those to happen. Those would be like laws of logic, laws of physics, laws of chemistry, laws of cause and effect. And these laws must not change over time, so they must have an eternal, universal, and unchanging lawgiver. Where do those laws come from so you can have recollections?
Why are you assuming
those laws you just mentioned are descriptive, not prescriptive? So they're not made. We made those up to describe what we see around us.
Sure.
If there's a lawgiver, if there's a lawgiver in that scenario, it's mankind.
Actually, sir, even if they were simply descriptive, which they are not, that doesn't answer the question. Because I'm sorry, sir. Hang on a second. I'm not going to interrupt you. Please don't interrupt me. Hang on a second. I want to answer Peter here. Even if they were simply descriptive, which they are not, if they were simply descriptive, you should be able to create anything your little heart desires, like a one-ended stick, a square circle, a married bachelor, military intelligence, an intelligent Democrat, anything like that, and then have these laws describe them. But you can't because that violates the law of identity. Now, would you agree, sir? Would you agree, sir? That in the beginning of the universe, the universe could not...
Peter, one at a time, please.
Yes, I'm almost done. Would you agree, sir? Here comes the question. Because these are not descriptive, they're prescriptive laws. Would you agree, sir, that in the beginning of the universe could not have both existed and not existed at the same time in the same way?
Peter?
Actually, at the beginning of the universe, as you call it, what happened was a change of state. So the universe did exist, it just changed states.
Now, sir, what caused the change of state? And by the way, how do you know that?
You guys are going way away from what I need to ask. It's all this stuff is probably going to be blown out of the water with this question that I needed to ask you earlier that I've been trying. Now, my question to you is that you're stating that these laws of logic cannot change and these other natural laws. How did you determine that those natural laws cannot change or do not change?
Well, number one, if the law of identity ever changed, if A was ever A1 or A was ever B, how could we know anything at all? You couldn't have chemical reactions. You couldn't have chemical compounds. You couldn't identify the words coming out of my mouth right now because there would be no uniformity of nature. Number two.
So what you are saying, Mr. Batman.
I'm saying, hey, quiet now. Thank you. Once again, if the law of cause and effect ever changed, and everything in our physical universe is dependent upon that, if the law of cause and effect ever changed, guess what? We wouldn't be here to complain about it. Now, is that answer your question, Mr. Randolph?
I have a simple question that's going to help you out. So what you are claiming, and this is a simple yes or no answer, what you are claiming is that all these laws, the laws of logic, the laws of physics, they are, according to you, are unchangeable, correct?
Sir, not all of them. Some of them are unchangeable. But see, this is why I don't do yes and no answer questions. The laws of logic are...
I asked you about at least two specific things in which you just
I will not do yes and no answer questions. I will not do yes and no answer questions. Again, this is why I don't. Because
you're afraid?
There are some laws of physics that are changeable, and there's some that are not. The laws of logic, such as the law of identity... One at a time, sir. Thank you very much. The laws of identity, non-contradiction, and excluded middle are attributes of the way God thinks, so they are unchangeable. It says in Romans chapter 1, verse 20, that for what can be known about God is plain to them, is clear to them because God has shown it to them.
The Bible,
namely his eternal power, his divine nature, his invisible
this is a conversation, not a lecture.
Hang on a second, sir, and I'm not done conversing. His invisible attributes have been clearly perceived, clearly seen. Now, once again, I'm not preaching, sir. I'm actually backing my position.
I have a question about your God.
I'm not done answering your initial question, sir. I'm not done answering your initial question. Because
according to the Bible, goes against the laws of logic.
The God cannot go against logic.
According to the Bible, your God,
now once again, sir, the God of the Bible cannot go against the laws of logic
so
because they are part of him. He cannot violate his own nature. Does that answer your question?
And then the Bible is wrong.
No, sir, the Bible is not wrong. The Bible is never wrong.
Yes,
the Bible of God's word is truth. The Bible never says God violates the laws of logic. God can do any logically possible thing. See, God has all available power in the system. God is omniscient. He is omnipotent. That means he has all available power in the system, but he cannot do the logically impossible. He cannot create a rock
already make him
so large he himself cannot lift it. Why? Because that would violate the law of identity.
Those two attributes you just listed first make him logically impossible. Thank you.
I'm sorry, sir. Which two attributes would that be?
Omniscience and omnipotence.
Oh no, sir. He's both of those. He knows all things.
Yes,
but because he's all powerful, he has all available power in the system. Now, again, his knowing what we are going to do does not negate his ability. Knowing what we are going to do does not negate his ability to have all available power in the system. Because again, one of the things that he dictates, and he dictates everything that happens with every single atom in every single place. Guess what? He dictates that you will have certain free will choices. Not ultimate, but certain free will choices.
I agree.
And that is, do you obey God or do you not obey God?
I used this argument last time. So let's ask you a simple question. If God knows that I'm going to die an atheist, can you change that?
I'm sorry, what?
I said, if God knows, because he's omnipotent, that I'm going to die as an atheist, can he change it?
Well, sir, he wants you to love him of your own free will. And that's where free will comes in. I'm sorry, sir, I am answering your question. Why don't you shut up and listen to it? The fact of the matter is, sir, God wants you, if God wants you to love him, can you force somebody to love you? Can you put a gun against somebody's head and say, you're going to love me now? No. You have to choose that, sir. And you have to choose him.
Does God need a gun to change my mind?
No, sir. God has made it known who he is and what he is in this creation.
Let me get back to
and
my
so
question.
He has made you know it. You know God, but now you reject him because you'd have to submit to him if you were to love him.
Let me get back to my question. If God knows...
I already answered it, sir.
Because
God
he can see the future...
He does know.
God knows because
God knows
can see
if you're going to die an atheist. And do you know what's so scary about that, sir? Even if you were to die an atheist, he could use you to bring people to himself.
He was in the middle of a sentence. Sorry, I got it.
Yeah, he's been doing that to me ever since he started. So is this going to be a fair back and forth or what?
Yes, it's going to be a fair back and forth. Give him his time too, though, when it's his turn. But continue.
Yeah, so if God knows that I'm going to die an atheist, is there anything in his power that he can do to change it?
He's already done it, sir. You've rejected what he's done.
That I'm going to die as an atheist, is he, as you claim, all-powerful? Can he change that fact?
Sir, he has already done everything he needs to do to prove to you that he is, that he loves you, that he died for your sins. Now, here's the thing, sir. He has done it, and you have rejected it. You have the free will choice. I'm sorry, sir. I'm in the middle of speaking right now. Thank you very much.
Let Batman finish for a second, and then we'll address the points. Write it down on a piece of paper if you need.
Yes, thank you very much. The fact of the matter is, I am answering the question because God has done everything he needs to do to prove to you that he is. Because there is nothing that exists without him. There is no law that you can point to and says, well, this law works this way because of X. No, it doesn't. God has made himself known to you. You know it. But the problem is you, sir. You refuse to submit to the God that you already know. So, sir, your question is malformed.
Okay, I accept the fact that you say that God is not omnipotent. Thank you.
And I accept the fact that you're too stupid to understand the answer to my question.
Oh, don't call people stupid.
No.
Hey, come on.
Batman, you didn't answer the question. The question was...
I did answer the question, sir.
No, you didn't. Stop. Does God have the power to stop Peter from dying while being an atheist? Can he forcibly convert Peter to Christianity, or can God change a future thing? If God knows some fact in the future, can God change that fact?
Oh, God could change a future thing, but God will not interrupt me. I'm sorry, now I'm speaking, sir. Thank you very much. Now, shut up now. Here's where you need to shut up. Thank you. Once again, sir, he has already done everything he needs to do to convince everybody on the planet that he is and that he does love you and he died for your sins. Now, here's the deal. Can he change future events? Sure he could. Will he change and go against somebody's free will? No. God is not a cosmic rapist. He's not going to rape you and force you into something you don't want to do. Now, if you want to be out of his presence, more power to you. Hell's awaiting.
Okay, and one last question. If God has done everything possible to convince me, how come that I'm not convinced?
Because you chose not to. Because you'd rather live in the sin. You would rather walk in the darkness of your sin and continue on in your perversion than walk in the light of his marvelous love. God's word is light and love, and you choose darkness and sin. That's all there is to it.
I cannot choose my convictions. So
actually, yes, sir, you can all the time.
No. There's
Let me ask you a question, sir. Do you choose to be homosexual?
Let me finish my sentence, Mr. Batman.
Okay.
I can be convinced that a God exists and then reject him. That's a possibility. I cannot be convinced. I cannot be convinced of something and then unconvince myself.
Actually, sir, you can lie to yourself. That's what you're doing. It says you are lying to yourself. Now, let me ask you a question, sir. What particular thing do you love? Do you support? Do you support homosexual marriage, sir?
Yes.
Oh, great. Why?
I live with two homosexual women.
Oh, lovely. So, once again, sir, would there be a time where you would tell those women that that they are sexual perverts for doing what they're doing?
No, because I actually enjoy watching them.
Well, see, here's the problem with that, sir. They are sexual perverts because we know how the system was designed. Who designed the sexual reproductive system to function the way it does, and how do you know?
Nature.
Nature doesn't design anything, sir. And we have something called entropy. Yes. We're not getting bigger, better, stronger, faster, smarter over time.
Hold on.
We're going in the opposite direction, sir. Hang on just a second. We need to know what the definition of a pervert is.
No. Let me respond to your claim.
I'm talking is, sir, a pervert is any person who takes any system, especially the sexual reproductive system, and uses that system in a way it was never designed to be used, like homosexuals do. That makes them sexual perverts. If you really love these people, you would tell them that they are sexual perverts. So now you're talking the difference between instinct and morality.
Why did your God, Mr. Batman, why did your God create lesbian lizards?
So, Mr. Batman, please, no bigotry. I'm unmuting you. Stop with the bigotry immediately. I will kick you from the stage if it resumes.
Thank you, Taco. I was going to ask.
It'll return to the stage in a second.
I am not engaging in bigotry. I'm simply pointing out the scientific method. The scientific method tells us
Mr. Batman,
that if you...
why did your God...
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Peter. Mr. Peter.
Let me ask you a question.
If you cared about those people, why don't you tell them the truth about the sexual reproductive system, that it has a designer?
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Why did your God create lesbian lizards?
He didn't, sir. As a matter of fact, he created things to be able to reproduce.
He did, sir.
The fact of the matter is, sir, I'm going to go ahead and mute you because I'm just done. Have a nice day. Return to parish. You're on your way to hell. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
I think we need to remove Mr. Batman.
Okay, so he's muted the person he's engaging with on stage. Does anybody else on stage want to engage with Mr. Batman?
No, I
think toy around with it if you want to.
No.
Okay, so Jack said...
Let's, Taco, get him out of here.
All right.
This bigotry is unacceptable.
Next. All right, thanks
for
coming up.
I'm just curious.
He's going on.
I'm just curious. Who did he mute?
No,
I'm curious.
He's pushing garbage. And bigotry, it's bigoted garbage. No, it's bigoted garbage, and it doesn't belong here. I'm glad he's gone. Thank you.
All right, we'll pull up the next person in queue. Charm, I see you in queue. I gave you an invite. You got to hit the green button at the top of the screen.
One of the problems. Hello, Charmhole. How are you?
Hello.
Hey, thank you for joining us. What have you got for us?
Yeah. All right. Hold on. I just came back from playing with my dog. Just give me 1 second, real quick. I'll be right back.
Now, that's the kind of love that I appreciate, playing with your dog. That is.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Batman was making an argument earlier about how his God is all powerful and can do absolutely anything, and then also saying that he created laws of logic and has to work within those somehow, which is another contradiction that I was hoping to get to, but it's just he was just talking too much. It was really hard to converse with him. Charmhole.
I love it that he basically said that his God wasn't all powerful because he had done everything he could already, and I'm still not convinced.
Oh yeah, you painted him into a corner there. You did really well with that. Welcome.
All right, yeah. So, hey, how are you? All right. Yeah. So, I just want to say, thanks for doing this. Is cool on God's Day, Lord's Day, Sunday. Right? And so, I've been thinking about this topic for obviously a while, and I think one of the best ways to think about it is in the terms of what I like. You've probably heard this before, and it's called we've got known knowns. We've got known unknowns, we've got unknown knowns, and we've got unknown unknowns. Okay?
You got the third one wrong, but yeah.
What? Well,
it's known unknowns, not unknown knowns.
Well, that was the second one, unknown knowns. No, I said the second one was known unknown, and then the third one is unknown known. Right, and if you need me to... Just type it out, just for everybody. I'll go ahead and type it out in the chat, right?
It's a logical contradiction. An unknown known.
No,
you're just saying that you know something and you don't know something at the same time. That's
right.
meaningless.
Well, okay, no. So something that could be. Well, here, let me just go through the list like I was going to, right? And then unknown.
If you say it backwards, I think T-Jump is trying to clarify for you. You got it backwards.
So, right. Well, I've been thinking about this for a while. So I think the best examples, right, of, like say a known, right? What is a known? I think a lot of people can agree that yourself is a known, right? Cogito ergo sum, right? You think, therefore you are. You know yourself, right? I think that's a pretty big given, right? So then, what could a known unknown be, right? Like something that we know of, but we don't know anything about. Right?
No. So an unknown is something we don't know about, and we don't know that we don't know about it.
Well, right. Which I think God falls into that category. But just for a known unknown, right? Something that we can't quite test for exactly, but we can agree exists. Unknown. Okay, fucking chill. Thanks. So I've got, I think a known unknown would be something like a black hole, right? Like we know it to exist, but we can't really test for it, right?
No,
it's mostly unknown. We don't know what's beyond a black hole. We don't know, the exact properties of it, other than it's sucking out the life or the light of our universe, right? And an unknown known would be something like God, right? A deity, right?
No,
it's unknown, and yet it's known, as in we kind of say that it's supposed to be unknown, right? Like I think we can agree that the simple fact that we have a word for God implies that it exists to some degree. However, the meaning of it would be permanently unknowable, right? And there's another word that falls into this category, I think, would be utopia, right? A utopia can never be known effectively. The definition of the word is that it can never be real effectively. Once we think we've reached a utopia, another utopia is just beyond us, right?
Oh, like literally everything you're saying is wrong. Like just everything.
Okay, well, how about you go fuck yourself and shut up and just listen and just try to understand?
No, because we have to you have to actually make a point. Listen, everything you're saying is wrong.
Yeah, we're done.
So first thing, he just got the Rumsfeld quote wrong. It's not unknown knowns. That's literally a contradiction. What an idiot. Secondly, God would be a known unknown. A known unknown is something we know with a label, but we don't know what the content is. We have no evidence of it. Like a God. A God would be a known unknown. An unknown is something you can't label. It's a thing we literally don't know anything about it. We don't know that we don't know it. He just doesn't understand anything about the quote. Gibberish. Just all of it was gibberish. Utopias are not by definition unknowable. They are things we can literally build. Like nothing he said was true there, and he didn't present an argument.
Fair enough. Well, I did invite Booney up, so if you're listening, go ahead and accept that.
Yeah, that was a lot of word salad. At first, it sounded like he was traversing some kind of square of logic, but it just got to be a complicated mess. Hello, Booney.
What's going on, Booney?
Phenomenal argument.
Booney, say something.
Booney's back in the boondock.
Try disconnecting completely and then rejoining Booney. Sometimes there's issues with microphones.
Kids are angry today, man. What the hell's going on?
Wait, you ever been in Discord before?
It's just a little angrier than usual. Or maybe I'm actually paying attention today. I don't know.
Alright, Booney, I'm re-inviting you up.
Hey, can you hear me?
There it goes.
Yeah. There we go.
All right, this is a waste. I think I accidentally raised my hand, but I don't believe in God, and I think that all theists are bad people. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming up.
Your ideas are bad, and you should feel bad.
So we have no one in queue. I invited no one up.
There's no one left. No one has their hands up. Oh, that's too bad. I'm so sad.
They left queue. You guys? We got Patty. That's gonna be a good one. What's up, Patty?
Hey, yo, Taco.
What's going on? Convince us of God or gods?
Hey, yo, Taco.
What's
Hey,
up?
Taco, I got my ultimate proof for God.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. My ultimate proof of God is that he's a bitch, nigga.
Moving you back to audience.
Okay.
Walked right into that one, Taco.
I did.
I don't know how you did not see that coming.
Oh, King Xerxes is here.
So,
American something.
I've been cat there from earlier.
That's actually a good argument. So, because God is a bitch and because he killed lots of people, it must mean he existed. Because to be a bitch, he must exist. It's a good argument.
He must be a female dog, then, right?
Yes.
To be a goddess.
All right. So I've been. Can we have a conversation this time?
Eben.
Yeah. What's up, guys?
Okay, let's have a conversation this time.
All right. So, the materialism, secularism worldview has recently collapsed at my sillage.
What?
Oh no, it hasn't.
It has though. So if you think all ideas exist and that all that exists is material, then by then any idea necessarily exists in our reality. So on that example, you automatically concede to holding the view that God does not exist.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay, so you think ideas exist in reality?
Yes.
And God is an idea.
Yep.
So
I
God
think
exists.
that ideas are a process. They're a
The idea of God exists. That is why you won't bring me my billion.
No, so like the
ideas-
idea exists, therefore it exists.
So I've already explained this to you last time.
It happens. It's an event. It's a thing which occurs.
Well,
Right?
well, so I
you
already-
don't say like digestion exists. Digestion is something that happens. It's a process, an emergent property of the microbiome in your stomach. But it's not an.
That wouldn't make a
physical,
difference to his
tangible
argument.
thing.
So his argument is the idea is the thing itself. So you're confusing the idea of a thing. Like I have an idea of a 2,000-pound elephant. Does my idea weigh 2,000 pounds?
In your worldview,
No.
so that's a contradiction.
Next.
It's not a contradiction.
So let's moving back to the audience because we've already dealt with
Yeah,
this.
we're not doing the your worldview thing again. Americans suck at discourse. That looks like a. I invited you up. Welcome.
Okay. Hey there. How are ya? Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Speak a bit louder or closer to your mic.
Okay. I can do that. I hope that's close enough.
That's better.
Okay. So I would just like to say that the existence of a God is necessary because of this one simple fact. You guys know Hot Pockets, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Hot Pockets. If you observe and analyze the figure and shape of these Hot Pockets, it's almost intuitive that it is impossible for these Hot Pockets to arise without some or other greater being. Now, let's go further.
Is the microwave oven a greater being?
Okay. I will expand on this. Okay.
It's a really interesting watchmaker.
I want you to imagine yourself holding a Hot Pocket in your hand. Are you guys imagining holding a Hot Pocket?
Yeah, they're perfectly shaped for being held, right?
Yeah. Now, do you see how this figure is necessary and proves the existence of a God? Because the teleology of this Hot Pocket and the design of this Hot Pocket is so perfect that no man could have possibly made it, you know?
It was made by Paul and David Mirage, so debunked.
Shit, never mind. You got me. Oh, fuck.
My Hot Pocket seems to be pastry.
The Hot Pocket, or the designed Hot Pocket argument. Jeff Jefferson, come on up.
Hey, yo, what's up? You can hear me?
Yep.
I got a question. It's more like for everybody. But convinces God doesn't exist and shit, right? Why do you give a shit? Like, I'm just confused on that point, really.
Fun conversation.
People vote.
People vote.
I mean, that's just really, it's all going through my head, like, when I'm on this Discord, really. Why does anybody care and shit? But that's all. Have a good day. Except you, Taco. I know
I have a question for
I
you.
know you. I know what you did to my mother.
It's too bad he left. I would ask somebody if they think that like religion has no relevance or something like that, or like why should you care what anyone else thinks? I'd ask that person if they care if somebody drinks and drives. So presumably we do care about the negligence of others, and even if it's not immediately causing a car accident, if someone's in the habit of it, might discourage them from doing so in the future.
Hey, Taco, could you take a moment to introduce King Xerxes?
Yes, I can. So King Xerxes has joined the stage here, and Peter did earlier as well. Why don't both y'all do your introductions? King Xerxes, introduce yourself.
Yes.
Apparently, he needs no introduction. He'll probably be back.
Yep. I'm pulling back up right now.
When I'm on my phone, periodically my my microphone will just not work, and I'll have to leave.
Working now.
Yeah, I know. But whenever I join these stages on my phone, for whatever reason, my microphone cuts out, and then I have to leave and come back to get it to work again.
Understood. We can hear you now. Welcome.
Tell the audience a little bit about you.
I'm King Xerxes. I am a atheist activist on Discord. A lot of people have probably interacted with me before. I have a YouTube channel. It's King Xerxes. It's exactly the same as my username, same icon as well. If you like listening to my debates with people, you should like and subscribe. That's pretty much all I do, is just record live conversations that I have. Not much to it.
Peter, I already linked your website or your YouTubes, but go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So my name's Peter the Tucker. I'm the founder of the Gonna Go For It channel, where I'm joined with a few other atheists to discuss several topics. I also produce for people. One of the things that I'm most proud of actually is that I'm producing several shows for R and Raw, including the Quran lessons.
What does produce mean? Like editing?
No, I literally run the entire show from my end. All they do is show up and talk, and I provide the graphics. I make sure everything comes on screen. My email address is the one people contact if they want to get in touch with Aaron.
Gotcha.
Well, thank you for being here. And in Dalek, we pulled you up a little bit ago. You've been patient.
Hey, what's up?
Howdy.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. Convince us a god or gods exist.
I mean, I don't think I can convince you. There's like a plethora of
then why are you here?
I can bring up. Well, maybe to run an argument.
Go for
it. So I would start with that only what we have is this qualitative experience. So we can approach a tree and see all of the aspects of it, like depth, height, structure, how does it feel when we touch it, how does it smell, the colors, the different aspects of the thing. And all of these have a spectrum on their own. So something can be really brown or really green, something can be light green, something can smell creamy, or something can be rough on the touch. And all of these things can be interchanged and played with, and they span into infinity, right? If we would do the math, it's just unending. So yeah, actually it is. It goes into infinity.
They can be interchanged. You can't change a brown tree into a blue tree.
Yeah, I'm saying that the things we can play with, right? The spectrum of a thing. So, for example, maybe to use smells or something something have a specific smell, then you can change it with just adding a droplet of something else. So the amount of things, the amount of smells, the different smells that we can produce is infinite. It doesn't
no. No, there's literally a limited number of receptors in your nose, and there's a limited number of combinations that they can be activated. It's literally not infinite. But what do you have an argument that just lead to an argument somehow?
And to top that all
doesn't
off,
mean
people smell things differently. So
no. T-Jump didn't understand. We can.
Smell is subjective.
We can play with infinity, but that doesn't mean if we can't perceive certain things that we cannot add always something that would change the structure of it. So even though if you wouldn't perceive the change is there. So that we are limited. I would agree that as beings we are limited, but we are a certain we are like a microcosm of the universe, and we can with our minds, I think we can hold the whole universe in our mind. We can perceive it. So these quantitative experiences cannot be proved with science or physics, our qualia or our volition. It's activated through a capacity that is, I think, that is a proof that we are a reflection of this mind, right? That is something bigger.
Wait, what? So you're saying that because we have experience and science can't answer it, therefore big mind unknown?
No, I'm not doing God of the gaps. I'm putting out a theory that has predictive success, because every act of knowing or willing, we have this kind of prior awareness, this co-awareness of the infinity. So this background knowledge, right? I think we would be incapable of knowing, or I would be incapable of speaking with you without at the same time our minds reaching out into infinity. So while we're aware of particular objects, we always also have a kind of background awareness, or an awareness of a horizon against which the particular finite object sits. And this is the infinity of being, right?
No, so we don't need any infinites at all. There could be literally no infinites, and that would be fine. We could still imagine everything we're imagining. So how exactly does this indicate that there's some kind of a mind outside of the universe?
As I said, it has like also it has predictive success, because we are just in a mindless universe. I don't think that a mindless universe could produce such a being that can actually perceive or apprehend the whole universe, actually.
Well, that's a composition division fallacy. So the fact that there is no ultimate mind doesn't mean that mind can arise from non-mind things. That happens all the time. That's why stars arise from non-star things. Walls arise from non-wall things. Water arises from non-water things. You don't need a mind to produce minds. So I'm not seeing your argument here. It's an argument from ignorance.
It's not. I didn't flesh. I mean, it's just one aspect of it. If I would fill it up with more things then, right? And then I would say that God as a theory has a lot of predictive successes as
what prediction does it make?
That it produces beings that can recognize logic, morality, values.
Post-diction.
What?
Post-diction. That's something we already know about, and you're making up a theory to explain something we already know. A prediction is predicting something we don't know yet. Making a prediction about the future is like saying, here is something we don't know that we will discover. Saying something we already know isn't a prediction. Like, I can't predict that there is a comb on my table. That's something I already know. So a prediction is something we don't know yet that comes true in the future.
Yeah, predictive, if you would think that we already know, or we already discover things like with science that morality exists or something like that, but I don't think we did, right? So it's predictive in a sense.
Beings. So we know there's conscious.
Yeah, but you don't believe that morality. I don't know if you're a moral realist or not. So.
I am. I'm a moral realist. But so are you saying that the prediction is that we will discover objective morality?
No, not just morality. Beings that can recognize it, and beings that can actually.
Well, we already those are
hold
post-dictions.
universe.
Those are things we already know. We already know people recognize morality. That's something we already know. That's like a comb on my table. So we already know people see morality. No objective morality has been discovered.
That's not something we can know with science. Science cannot prove ethical truths.
Well, so yeah, we can't prove ethical truths. There's no evidence that ethical truths are objective yet, but we can prove people already exist who believe there are. So there are people who are aware of these things, whether or not they're true. So that we already know.
Yeah, sure. In a way, yeah, I understand where you're going with this, but I need to expand on the argument, but that would take a lot of time, because I would need to add like certain things that we can that differentiate us with animals. Certain questions we can ask ourselves.
Well, how would that indicate a god?
But this aspect of going beyond ourselves to question ourselves seems to indicate that there is such a metaphysical reality.
I agree. There's a metaphysical. I agree. There's a metaphysical reality. So yes, the fact that we can imagine ourselves and introspect is cool. You don't need a god for that. So.
I mean, without God, it's hard to reason to why would just matter produce such a being, and why would we see a certain order and progress and.
That seems to be the argument from ignorance. You're saying that, oh, if there isn't a God, it's not easy to explain how he got this. That's saying, oh, I don't know, therefore God. But I mean, we do have explanations for that. There's evolutionary explanations of how we got logic, which are more supported than any God hypothesis. But even if we didn't, it'd still just be an argument from ignorance, and that wouldn't indicate
No, it's
God.
not argument for ignorance. I'm showing you that we have good reasons to believe in God. I'm not trying to.
It sounded like your reason was because it's hard to explain under naturalism, therefore God. That seemed to be your argument.
No, I just think that naturalism cannot explain these things. You can posit like a naturalism of the gaps that we didn't find it, but I think that it's impossible to actually prove some with naturalism these things, right?
Right, that's an argument from ignorance. Saying it's impossible under naturalism, therefore God is exactly just saying that you can't imagine it, because we don't actually know what is and isn't possible. It's just you can't imagine it's possible, therefore God. It's an argument from ignorance.
Not exactly. No, it's not from ignorance, because I'm not positing this as an ultimate proof. I'm saying that it's a good reason to believe in God. I'm not saying this is the ultimate proof to believe in God, right? I'm just saying it's a good reason.
So an argument from ignorance is saying because we don't know something, something else must be true, or is evidence that something else is true. So it doesn't make a difference.
No, it explains the data perfectly. It explains the data perfectly.
Well, so does everything. So that's called post hoc rationalization. I can say, oh, look, there's a comb on my table. A magical leprechaun must have put it there. So a magical leprechaun explains the data of why there's a comb on my desk. But there's no actually evidence of a magical leprechaun. It's just explaining post hoc the things we already know. So the fact that there's no other possible explanation that we can think of to explain the comb isn't evidence of the leprechaun, just because we can imagine it explains why the comb is there. So that's an argument from ignorance to say, oh, because I don't know of any other way to explain why the comb is there, it must be the leprechaun. That's an argument from ignorance.
I'm not saying it must be. I'm giving good
the must
reasons.
Doesn't matter. Evidence. If it's evidence of a leprechaun, that's an argument from ignorance.
No, it would be an argument from ignorance if I would posit this as an ultimate.
No, the ultimate doesn't make a difference. It's just evidence. So if I said, I can think of no other explanation for why this comb is here other than a leprechaun, therefore this is evidence of a leprechaun, that's an argument from ignorance.
No, if someone killed somebody, right, and I have like 20 evidences for a certain person, but I don't have like an ultimate proof, I have a good reason to believe that that person committed the murder, right? So I'm doing more of I'm researching, I'm examining the evidence, and I'm inferring to the best explanation. I'm not.
Right, that would be fine, but you would need to provide the evidence, because right now the only evidence you said is you can't imagine naturalism doing it, which isn't evidence. That's
I agree with you that this argument alone isn't strong enough. But of course,
it's nothing. It's an
you haven't presented a single thing that you think is not explainable by naturalism, but you keep claiming that naturalism cannot explain something important. You've never pointed to what it exactly is.
Yeah, he said rational thought.
Yeah, but he hasn't provided any specific reason why that's not
moral
predicted by
landscape,
naturalism.
logical landscape, a person of a certain kind, a person building landscape that is really specific, right? It's not just a mindless thing. It's a person that can do things that are quite extraordinary, right? That is pointing to a certain metaphysical reality, and when we observe.
Gibberish. Like, let me give an example of a claim you could make. Okay, you could say, here's a specific feature of consciousness. This feature of consciousness does not appear to be explainable by natural phenomena, but it is explainable by God. For instance, let's just say you believe souls are a thing, right? Well, you could say, well, look, there's no way that naturalism could explain the soul, because it can't act upon it because it's something immaterial or whatever. But God would explain the soul. And then if you could provide evidence for souls, like some kind of reincarnation or spirits or something that is only explainable by souls, you could say, look, naturalism can't explain that. We have evidence that it exists. Therefore, it's more likely to be that theism explains this than naturalism. But you haven't pointed to anything other than just saying consciousness is confusing to you and you don't get how naturalistic accounts of consciousness work. Nevertheless, there are naturalistic accounts of consciousness. We could give them to you, but that seems like beyond the scope of you just like making arguments from ignorance about them.
No, I'm just saying that person that recognizes logic, these ideas or formulas or numbers, these immaterial things. So I'm saying that a mind can ground all of these, not just
and a
my
physical.
Mind, and the physical and the natural that allows for such a person to arise. Okay. And the immaterial and the specific type of a person that we are, that we can ask these questions.
What is it about physical theories about how the brain works that you think is inadequate to explain how minds work?
Can you repeat that question?
Okay, so if you're going to point to something like identifying a concept, and I give you like a naturalistic, physicalist account of how that works in the brain, and how you reporting the experience of that concept, it is explained and correlated to our account of how that occurs in terms of cortical columns firing and so on, such that without telling us that you're experiencing it, we know that you're experiencing it without you saying so, and we can tell when you experience it externally through instrumentation, right? What is it that you think is missing that can only be explained by this alternative theory that you think better explains this?
I mean, there is myriad of problems that is or questions I can give, like mental acts, whose internal connections appear to be conceptual or logical rather than physical. Qualia, volitions, language, for example.
I just told you that there are physical correlates of all these mental experiences that are now predictable, testable, observable.
No, these are legit problems in the mind-body problems in philosophy.
Sure, but
they're not just philosophical; they're empirical, right? So people actually study these so-called mind problems in a physical context, and they find that people who report these mental experiences correlate to the physical phenomena that can be attributing these experiences to these phenomena.
If this was true, then there wouldn't be so many books on these problems, right?
There's a lot of confused people, and it's a young field.
No,
but the field has made tremendous progress.
You cannot
such that most people are fairly confident that a physical account of the brain is explanatory of the mental account.
No, you're just saying to me that we solved this problem, but that's just not true.
No.
Question like identity over time, while physical properties
You're right.
change.
We haven't solved the problem, but neither has anything else. So not a non-physical theory also hasn't solved the problem. The thing that's made the most progress is the physical theories. So again, you saying that the physical theories haven't solved the problem, neither have you.
Well, my
Xerxes,
theory. Well, God. If you posit God, it would be perfectly explainable, right? So
no,
it would be solvable.
No,
If
you'd really just be kicking the can down the road.
We
have significant evidence to suggest that there is some sort of a relationship between the physical brain and the mind. What you're positing is the existence of a disembodied mind, which is similar to positing the existence of a triangle, whose corners don't add up to 180 degrees. It's just completely non-conceptual, and it doesn't have any referent to anything that we can understand or know.
We cannot prove, like, we cannot provide with these researches on the body, on the brain, the persistence of self-identity, the recollection of past events, personal intentions, philosophical reflection. This just cannot be proven with probing.
Trying to give an account of non-electromagnetic lightning, right? So we have a theory like electromagnetism that accounts for lightning, and you're saying, yeah, but that's not the right theory. There's this other theory that explains it better without reference to electromagnetism, right? And Xerxes is saying that since we already have a theory which does explain it well, and you're positing some other theory that doesn't appear to provide any additional explanation, then we have no reason to prefer your theory.
There is no theory that provides good explanation on this. That's why you have thousands of philosophers making these objections, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of philosophers who don't accept physicalism. That doesn't mean that they're right.
Well, I think the more important issue here is simply positing a god doesn't explain anything. Like I can posit a magical leprechaun. Does that explain consciousness? No. You simply asserting there is something there that does the consciousness thing isn't an explanation. Like we can assert anything we want. To actually explain it, you need some like novel testable prediction, some kind of reason to think this hypothesis is true, not just the fact that you can imagine it causes the thing. But that's not an explanation.
Okay, that would be a caricature of what I'm trying to do, right? I'm not just positing something random. God has a certain kind of attributes. Then I would invoke revelation and things like that we have source.
Well, how does it explain consciousness? Just saying God does consciousness
in
doesn't
a certain context.
So how does God explain consciousness?
Because he is a mind, so he is the grounding of our consciousness, or we are a reflection of that which existed forever, or is existence itself, right?
Right. So
and purest existence is awareness.
So if I said that the leprechaun has consciousness in his back pocket, does that explain consciousness?
No, but I'm trying to say to you that. That rationality is not something that can evolve, right?
Why not? It seems like it perfectly can, but the whole point here is that you just asserting God can do it is like me asserting that a leprechaun has consciousness in his back pocket, therefore that explains consciousness. That doesn't explain anything.
No, the rational faculties aren't material; they are spiritual.
So if you study,
they can't arise through genetic changes.
If you study cognitive science and evolutionary biology, you would not be making the claims that you're making now. Furthermore, there are Catholics who do not make the claims that you are making now, right? So if you go back to like the Snopes trial and so on, there are Catholics testifying that evolution is compatible with belief in God, and that you can accept
I believe in evolution.
And that you can accept that consciousness did arise through natural selection and biology, and still believe in God, right? So you're making this weird claim that it's impossible to accept that consciousness could evolve, and then claiming that this is some kind of dichotomy that has to be chosen. But they're Catholics.
Actually, I'm a Catholic. I'm a Catholic, and I know what Catholic can can't believe, right? We as Catholics can believe that we humans evolved biologically from other animals. That's something I do believe, but we believe that rational faculties, as I said, aren't material but spiritual. They didn't evolve. So we have to believe that rational souls, things that make us human, were created directly by God, and that's something we have to believe, actually. So it's not a result of evolution, it's something spiritual.
I don't have to do that. And if you take a look at the Paraha people, they don't even have words in their vocabulary to describe a god or any kind of deities at all.
Well, I'd go back to what he said. He said rationality is spiritual, non-physical. Is there any evidence of that? Because all the evidence says it's physical, just like computers have rationality just fine without any spiritual stuff.
So how are you comparing computers with minds? I'm not sure.
Computers can do rationality just like we can. Like there are computers that can give TED Talks.
They're programmed, right?
Yes, just like our brains are. It's all physical.
But what is the grounding of that of that computer, or what is the cause of physics? No, it's a mind, right?
The grounding is a
rational mind that programmed it.
Biomimicry. I think he doesn't understand the substrate itself. The substrate is a neuron that's imitating the mind.
So the computer can do rationality. The whole process of rationality is just a pattern in the physical stuff in the computer. So none of the rationality the computer is doing requires any non-physical stuff. That means that rationality doesn't require non-physical stuff. And our brains could have been programmed by nature, just like we program the computer. You don't need any non-physical stuff.
Okay, but when I speak about rationality, it's not just me being able to do mathematics or 2 + 2 = 4. It's also questions like, what is my purpose? Who am I? Where am I? Like things like that, which computers or AI can't ask, or
they can itself, and they do. So produce answers to questions like that in a similar way, which is that they use artificial neurons, which are created as a biomimicry of what we observe in the neocortex and the hippocampus. And the artificial neurons are structured to be as similar to those that we find in the human brain as possible. And they're able to perform some analogous behaviors to those that we find in the human brain. They're not identical because it's going to take a lot of work before one of them is going to be as sophisticated as the human brain. But the substrate itself is very similar in arrangement of how it processes information to the substrate of the neurons that make up the cortical columns and hippocampus of the human brain.
When I say a question like, is there an ultimate purpose, or who am I? I'm not talking about letters. I'm talking about the essence of the meaning of this question. And that's not something you will find in a computer. Computer can reproduce whatever you want, whatever question you want. But the meaning behind, or the essence behind that question is much more what I'm talking about when I say.
But you're not grokking the fact that it's not like I program the computer to give me this answer that I expect it to give me, right? When I create a neural network and I train it on a bunch of experience in an analogous way to like a human biological neural network being trained on a bunch of experience, and I ask it a question, I don't know the answer it's going to give me until it gives it. It is not predictable any more than a human brain is predictable, because we don't perfectly know what the complex interrelationship of its neural network is going to do in the future. And that's why most of the people who are skeptical about physicalism are also like unfamiliar with how close we are to imitating the way that the brain produces fairly unpredictable behavior with biomimicry that does analogous things with artificial neurons. So it's very easy to believe that nature produced rationality because we're able to reproduce it using analogous substrates.
But
analogous meaning they have similar properties. There's similar properties between biological neural networks and artificial neural networks. They have similarities. That's why we think that the two are comparable, and why things that we're able to do with one tells us what's possible for the other to have evolved by natural selection.
The thing is, you're saying that nature is mindless. I'm saying that we have minds and we created these things, right? So what you are saying doesn't follow, right? But it actually proves my point, because we have minds and we can create such a thing. And I'm saying that God is sharing with us these abilities. So it kind of has a predictive a success in this field that we can create such a thing, right? Such technology.
No. Like if you say rationality isn't physical, then it would be impossible to produce rationality in a purely physical computer. If we can produce rationality in a purely physical computer, that proves rationality is physical.
But okay, it's the physical container, but the programs and the numbers and the sequences and the formulas and the language these things are grounding the software or the programs
is all physical. All of that in the computer is all physical. Every single bit of that.
Numbers are not physical, bro. They
every part of a computer is physical.
Objects.
Everything in it.
Yeah, sure. But
and so all of the rationality it does must be physical too.
But I'm saying that the thing that grounds this AI or software program are immaterial things that.
No, they're not. They're just physical parts in the computer. The programming of the computer is just a bunch of on-off switches. It's all physical. The rationality is a physical process in the computer. It's all physical. No non-physical parts.
So you would say that sequences or that we come up with math formulas, objects like or ideas or numbers, these are all material things.
Yep.
So where can you show me in nature these things without pointing to a mind?
Well, there's no minds. We got brains. We can point to the brains.
Yeah, you're just presupposing that minds are.
No, that's what all the evidence indicates. So it's not a presupposition.
It's not all what all evidence. That's why it's contested.
Well, problem. It's not really like it's like a 90-something% consensus in neurology, biology, cognitive science, psychology, philosophy of mind, all brain physical. It's the consensus in every one of those fields.
Yeah, I would like to see that consensus if you can send.
Okay, I did an interview with Julian Mussolino where we literally talked about this, and he presented the papers in that conversation. You can find it on there.
Can you repeat that last sentence?
Yes, I did an interview with Julian Mussolino, who is a neuroscientist at Caltech or something, and I literally asked him these questions, and he gave us all the information in the field.
Yeah, but I asked you for the consensus you invoked.
Yeah. Yes, and he.
Yeah, the video that you can just link into to watch.
Yeah, the Julian Mussolino interview. I'm playing a video game.
Yeah.
I don't want to change.
Okay, we'll find it. So, Indilek, are you capable of using Google? So search for T-Jump and Julian interview, and you will find it. You can listen to Julian give an account from the perspective of a neuroscientist of what the consensus is in the field. Okay, so we still haven't heard any claims that are convincing about something about consciousness, which is not explainable under naturalism, but which is explainable under theism. Are you done, or do you have something else?
I mean, I have a lot of arguments, but I think I'm gonna go right. I don't want to take too much time.
Well, okay, thank you for coming up. It was awesome having you. Do you have any last words you'd like to say, or? It's not.
No.
Oh, well, thank you. Patty, I'm pulling you back up. I know you said you wanted to talk to Xerxes, but maybe you can ask one of the other guys.
Oh, no, I wanted to talk to Xerxes because, hold on, I'm just typing something really quick.
Well, you could talk with us. Xerxes isn't here right now.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him about his tags. I was going to ask him if his tags were true to what he believes, because I was interested in his pro-life stance as an atheist. It's very rarely I find other pro-lifers who are atheists, so I was just interested in that stance of his.
Clarify by pro-life, you're talking about being opposed to terminating a pregnancy by way of something like an abortion.
Yes, the problem is I don't know the extent in which he believes that. So I just wanted to know more about it since he was an atheist. Is an atheist, not was, is.
Oh, okay. And are you taking a pro-life stance?
Yeah, I have pro-life stances.
Okay. I'll tell you, my view on it is that I favor freedom of the bodily autonomy of the pregnant person, and that the pregnant person must have the right to choose to terminate their abortion, their pregnancy at any time during the pregnancy. And that to me is paramount in human rights. I know that there's some people who put a cutoff date on it. I do not.
Oh, okay. So you would be someone who's like 8 months. Yeah, go ahead, get rid of it if you want to.
Yeah, and you know, one thing that makes a lot of people feel better who are against abortion is that the majority of pregnancy terminations happen within the first trimester. And, yeah, and then the numbers fall rapidly after that. It's very rare somebody does it in the last trimester.
Yeah, it's extremely rare. But there was something else. So what it sounded like earlier was that T-Jump is a moral realist. You, on the other hand, Randolph, it sounds like you're not.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So, well, that would be really interesting to hear you two have an argument or a conversation, not an argument per se, about that.
You want us to fight like they did?
Not right now. Not right now.
Look, right?
Women are the sources of all men's discord and chaos, but I'm not going to do that to you guys right now. So
we're actually not going to do that here. But
yes, I agree. You're not going to do that now.
Do you want to tell us why you believe in God, Pat?
Who said that?
I did. I'm IX or Ix.
IX. Oh, I've grown up Christian. I'm just really comfortable and interested with my faith. So that's all.
So you don't have reasons that you're interested in sharing with other people about it?
In which it seems that the interest is for me to convince you, and I have no interest in convincing you.
Okay, that's fair enough. And I will say the work that I do with the activism I do, I'm not trying to get people to leave their religion. And I find it interesting talking with Christians such as yourself because I feel like really good conversations can be had.
Yeah. Okay. Also, just to be clear, Peter, that's not what you said.
I missed something.
I'm sorry?
I know. We've been arguing in the text chat.
Yeah, I'm curious. What are you referring to?
Your absolute certainty point. That's not what you said. So this is what you said. I never claim to have certainty on gods that haven't been presented to me. It's not my job to go looking for them. The conversation did not start about gods in which haven't been presented to you. It has been about gods regardless of their definition. If you're willing to change that claim, that's acceptable.
No. It started with me claiming that I'm a hard atheist.
Yes, you are a hard atheist. I believe that.
Yes. For the gods that have been presented to me, I am a hard atheist.
Sure, you can say that you have some sort of plausible certainty, but not absolute certainty.
Now, Patty, I don't know if you're aware, but
I have a question for. Hold on, I have a question for Patty as well. You said you were you were pro-life?
Yeah, personally, yes.
So you are in favor of universal health care, and you're vehemently against.
I support public option.
The death penalty.
I'm pro-death penalty. Yes.
Oh, I'm opposed to the death penalty.
I figure you're left, so I would figure.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I have a nuanced view on it.
Yeah,
and I'll post it in the text chat shortly. It's a short read, but in summary, what it is that the death penalty, an improvement that I think would be very good, that would not be in conflict with human rights, because I think a death penalty is in conflict with human rights, especially in cases with wrongful conviction. But at any rate, it still is. The idea that I have is that there's minimum time served, and then after that, at any point, the convicted person can choose to take the death penalty, but they have to apply to a court for that before it will happen. And so that way, the people who are wrongfully convicted at least don't have an impending doom that they have to worry about. And I think this way it also respects bodily autonomy, because even though somebody's in prison, they still have human rights. And like here in Canada,
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So sounds like we kind of agree on a whole bunch of stuff, and not another pleasure.
So what we agree with is that So I number one, I can't think of a single felon who's going to be like, yeah, give me that death penalty. I can't think of a single felon who would do that.
Oh,
but,
I know. Ton of them. I'm aware of some who would like to take
possibly a ton of them. Maybe because they like loathe their existence in prison. But like for example, what we agree with is that there is an unfortunately high rate of people in which like are given the death sentence, turns out they're innocent. My personal belief about the death penalty is that the death penalty can only be done in circumstances in which the reasonable doubt is so incredibly low. Like, yeah, that requires numbers. I don't know how we would achieve that, but essentially it has to be so incredibly low. Like, for example, the case in which a white supremacist dragged a black guy down 3 miles of road and killed him, right? That one, the reasonable doubt about that case was so incredibly low. I didn't have a single problem that they were put to death. It just wasn't a problem for me. But a case, for example, like George Stinney, I'm sure you do, like George Stinney, right? That the reasonable doubt was insane. The reasonable doubt was so insane, right? It was just very clearly just racism. Death penalty should have never been applied. Maybe he would have gotten, I don't know, 5 years of prison. Would have still been unjust, right? But the death penalty should have never been applied in that case.
I'm curious. In order for you to stay pro-life, I need. I really wanted to have that question.
Peter, I'm just trying to respond to Patty here. Just give me a second. There was a lot of noise. So it
was T-Jump. Shut up, T-Jump. Sorry.
Patty, the problem that I foresee with this is that there's as well intended as people may be, when new people come in and then they're making decisions on this, there can lead to problems. And we've seen this time and time again with death penalties. And the example that you gave of somebody being wrongfully put to death will happen again as long as the options are there. Whereas I think the approach that I'm using at least gets rid of the death portion of it being imposed on somebody. And
I do agree with you. It's not like I don't agree with you. I do agree with you that the level of risk of, hey, T-Jump, I'm so sorry, but you might have to mute yourself.
Can you mute?
Background noise.
I'm so sorry. So I agree with you, right? The level in which, like, it seems that under my system, there will be that likely maybe 1% of people who are innocent and will be put to death, which I still find unacceptable, right? It's just for me personally, I just don't have a problem with it. Not that someone who's innocent died, but rather that like certain criminals who are put to death just don't have a problem with it. Simply, I just know that I don't have a problem with it simply because if it was my kid and I had like this absolute certainty, which I don't, but like if there was like this reasonable the reasonable doubt was so low, let's say that I actually saw them do it, oh man, I want them put to death so bad, just wouldn't have a problem with it, wouldn't lose a lick of sleep.
So how many people, innocent people dying is acceptable for you to still say that you're pro-life?
Currently, I would support the abolishment of the death penalty. I just happen to be personally pro-death penalty.
Yeah, I'm still in favor of our system, which has led us to the fact that we now have to rent out prisons because we don't have enough criminals left to fill them with.
Well, the reason why we have so many... Well, you understand the reason why.
Much better approach than, for instance, the system that is currently being used in the United States.
I mean, you understand the reason why, right? Like, the reason why in the United States we have so many prisons is because we put people in jail for nonviolent offenses.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and because it's financially attractive for the people who own the prisons,
private prisons
the
are
judges convicting the people.
Okay, but private prisons are a minority within the United States. It turns out the government actually, not private entities, but the government actually gets paid really nicely and really, really well when they throw black people in prison.
So. Financial incentive is the problem.
Yeah, I agree to an extent. I think the other problem is just like straight up racism and the fact that we have really draconian laws.
Wait, how does the government get paid for putting people in prison?
Sorry, can you say that again?
How does the government get paid for putting people in prison? Like, it costs us money. I don't think we get paid for it.
So the government, you understand, like government and private prisons. Number one, government and private prisons have their own private contract. And then number two, prisons in which are government funded, right? They are in fact still getting a lot of money for those entities. Now,
yep.
Yeah.
The government doesn't get money.
Okay. Would you be fine with me just sending you an article about it? And maybe you'll change your mind?
And post it in the Heathen.
Where does the money? Where does the money the government gets come from?
Who's paying the government for prisons?
Yeah, that's
people
taxpayers.
Like you and me.
Taxpayers,
literally taxpayers.
So that means that the government is not paying for it. The taxpayers are.
So yes, just like everything
and no
else.
one's making money.
The
government just like
how are they making money?
So
how
here
are
we
they
go.
making money?
This is from the Prison Policy Incentive, in which is talking about how government and private prisons drive money out of our industrial prison complex.
Right, so the government gives its own funding to fund the prisons. The government isn't making any money; it's spending money.
So it's about the cost. So it is about the cost of imprisonment. So while the government absolutely does spend money, the government also gets lots of money.
Well, they get the money from
and
taxes.
just to be clear, government's actually not spending. No, just to be clear, government doesn't spend nearly as much money as the amount in which they actually get. So, for example, the fact that a myriad of prisons. Hold on. For example, the fact that, like, let's just take, for example, about 2 years ago in Mississippi during record temperatures, thanks to like climate change, they were experiencing people just literally dropping dead due to the fact that there was no air conditioning in prisons. Prisons receive the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out where do they get money from. So they get taxes, which they get either way. They get taxes regardless of whether or not there's prisons, and then they decide to spend millions of dollars on prisons.
Yeah,
They're losing
taxes,
money,
right? They get judicial and legal, right? Prosecution, indignant defense, public correction agencies, public employees, healthcare,
Yeah, so they're spending tons and tons of money for prisons.
Yes, they're losing money and not making any.
Wait, sorry. You think the government is losing money and not making any from prison institutions?
Yes.
Billions.
Okay, then you would actually be kind of wrong.
The taxes would still be there if there weren't any prisons, right?
Sorry, say that again.
I said the taxes would still be there if there weren't any prisons.
Would taxes for prison? Sorry, would people be taxed for prison?
Okay.
What are you asking me?
I'm actually going to try to suggest that we move on because there's other people in the audience want to speak, and we have gone.
I had one more.
Well, just
one more question for Patty.
Peter, just a sec. This has been a really interesting topic, and Patty, at some time I'd be happy to speak with you and others on it if you're interested to do it at a separate time because I think it's an important topic.
Yes.
Peter has one last question for you, and then I think we should move on.
Is it the prison question?
Patty, at the last.
No.
Peter, stop for a sec, Patty. So after Peter asks you, we'll give you the last word, and then we'll probably move on from there. Does that sound good?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for being here. Go ahead, Peter.
Okay. Yeah, you said you were pro-life. So let's say there's a scenario in which a mother dies and the baby lives, or the other way around. Which life are you in favor of?
What? Can you repeat the question, but like make it make sense?
Yes, if you have to choose between the mother dying and the child surviving, which would you choose?
There are situations in which if a mother or if a pregnant woman would continue the pregnancy, she would die.
Yeah.
The baby might survive.
Yeah.
In
That's
that
her
case, which life would you favor?
That's her choice.
So you're pro-choice?
No. I'm asking you, which life would you favor? You're pro-life.
Which life do I favor?
Peter,
I think that both lives. I think that both lives matter. I don't just discount the baby, and I don't just discount the woman. Ultimately, it's her choice.
Peter, I think what she's trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, Patty. You're trying to say that in this particular situation, you will defer to the pro-choice approach.
Essentially, yeah, legal. It would essentially, in legal terms, a pro-choice approach. I believe that women. Oh, Xerxes is here, but I believe that women, right, Like, I think that it's a noble and honorable thing for women to sacrifice their life for their baby, but that is her choice.
Thank you, Patty. Appreciate having you on.
Xerxes is here.
Wait,
Can
real
I ask
quick,
this question to him real quick?
Yeah, she came up to talk with Xerxes, so let's give her a minute.
Let's try to make it a little bit quick. I don't mean to rush you,
Yes.
but we do have other people in the audience. So
It'll be very
I feel special. What's up, Patty? How can I help you?
Hi, Xerxes. I just wanted to ask you this quick question. Is everything your tags in your bio true to what you believe?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. It says that you are pro-life and you are also an atheist. And I was really interested in hearing that because I too am pro-life, but I am a Christian.
Yeah, so my moral system and my ethical values, life as opposed to non-life is at the central of that. So while there are going to be moral gray areas, wherein sometimes the death of one person is necessary for the salvation or the prosperity of the many, or I mean the few to the many. Those areas are going to be very few and far between. The overwhelming majority of circumstances where somebody gets an abortion is going to be an elected choice out of convenience, not out of medical necessity or other extenuating factors that would severely debilitate the life quality of the child. My argument is effectively that it's morally wrong to get an abortion, although I wouldn't support the criminalization of it because there's plenty of things I morally disagree with that I don't believe in the criminality of. But I think that it is your duty to take care of your offspring, whether that you're a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. You should take care of the life that you create.
Okay, thank you so much, Xerxes. I really appreciate that answer. I thought it was based. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty.
Thank you.
So you're in agreement. Okay. I will pull up Damocles.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the thing is, I don't advocate for the criminalization of certain things that I find immoral because that would give the government too much power. And if it can be done to them, it can be done to me, and I would prefer that not happen. So I try to find the best balance of power for the government, so as to promote the most amount of freedom while as mitigating the most amount of moral atrocities. So wherever that fine line is, I try to walk it as tightly as I can.
I already have a question for our new guest. Did you bring your sword?
Damocles, are you there?
And you muted, Damocles.
Sorry, did somebody just call for me or somebody else?
Oh no, Damocles.
No, I asked Damocles if he brought his sword, but maybe he might tip his sword towards his microphone.
Damocles, unmute yourself. There we go.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello?
I really want to talk to you, man. Come on.
Yeah, Xerxes, that was a wonderful answer. I appreciate that. That's very logical. Well, first, I have 10 minutes left to stay, so how much time do I have to present the argument? 2 minutes? 1 minute?
Sure, go. Did you bring your sword?
No. No sword. Okay. Very quickly, I try to condense the argument as much as I can and translate. So the Aristotelian argument, the argument from motion, or in modern terms, change. Aristotle says, I'm trying to condense it, of course, so I cannot go in details, but just in general outline. So the argument from Aristotle starts from the fact that change occurred. So, for example, the water in the cup started really cold in the fridge, and now it's warm. That would be an example of change. Or when I move my hand through space, for example, that would be an example of change. Aristotle argues that on analysis, change always involves the actualization of a potential, something going from potential to actual. My hand is potentially over there, now it's actually over there. The water is potentially lukewarm, it becomes actually warm. He develops this idea in response to a couple of ancient Greek philosophers like Parmenides and Zeno, who denied that change is possible. So he presents this argument in a way to answer them. But it's also a form, it forms a starting point to his arguments for God, for what he calls an unmoved mover, a prime unmoved mover of the world. He argues that, well, if change involves going from potential to actual, And his answer is that something can go from potential to actual only if there is something already actual that makes that happen. So to make that a little bit more concrete for you guys, my hand is actually right here. It's potentially on the left. And for actually to become on the left, there has to be something that makes that happen. The firing of the nerve system that causes the muscle flux, for example. Aristotle proceed. Aristotle proceed. I need to finish because Aristotle proceed to the conclusion. Whenever something goes from potential to actual, there is always something already actual that makes that happen. And if that already actual thing goes from potential to actual, there is something already actual making that happen. So we got one thing being changed by another thing, being changed by another, and so forth. And the crucial step to the argument, the most fundamental way in which this is true for Aristotle, has to do with a series of changes or causes that extend not backward in time into the past, but downward, here and now, you might say. So my hand moves here and now because the motor neurons are firing here and now. And those motor neurons are firing because other motor neurons are firing here and now. And that's only possible because my nerve system is held in place, you might say.
You don't need God for that.
Molecular structure, by its molecular, I have just a little bit left. By its molecular structure and so forth. So you have one level of reality here and now, actualized by another, actualized by another. And Aristotle concludes that we would have a vicious regress if there won't be something at the bottom level, if you may say, that actualize everything else without having to be actualized. Because it already has, as he put it himself, purely actual. It's moving other things or changing other things without itself moved or changed. And if there weren't something here and now, not just something back that knocks the first domino back in the Big Bang, for example, but here and now, then there wouldn't be a change going on here and now.
Okay, you don't need a God for that. Same answer as before. You can have a purely actual thing that isn't a God. Secondly, it doesn't need to be purely actual. Thirdly, actual and potentiality are abstract concepts to describe actual concepts like energy and entropy, which are real things. So actuality and potentiality don't really exist. They're abstract. Secondly, you don't need something that's purely actual because you can have things that's like has the pure actuality but also has other properties to it. And thirdly, it doesn't need to be God, whatever the actual thing is.
I don't think you understood my argument.
I did. I know this argument.
Also, if you end an infinite regress by special pleading, it doesn't really help.
Yeah.
Just another approach to this is that because this argument comes from Aristotle, you have to take into consideration that when Aristotle made this argument, he was also operating under his preconception of Aristotelian causation, which is the primary model of causation that most philosophers invoke when they're talking about cause and effect. But within that model of causation is the material cause, which unfortunately, with this actualization to
that's relevant.
No, it's very relevant because things which don't exist don't have potential. Things which do exist have potential. They have the potential to become other things.
Exactly, but that's you proving my point. I'm sorry, exactly, but you're proving my point. Go ahead.
I'm not done. So if you want to posit that a God existed and he actualized the universe, our current affairs of reality, you would have to be arguing that he affected something to do that. You can't cause something which doesn't exist to do anything, let alone start existing. What we actually observe is that pre-existing material, whatever it might be, has the potential to become something else. But a state of non-existence does not have the potential to become a state of existence. That's just absurd.
Yeah, you misunderstood my argument. I never said that everything that's changing is going from potential to actual. What I said is, I didn't say everything. I said whatever it's going from potential to actual. And potential to actual is the definition of change that Aristotle is using. For Aristotle, change, yes, you said the material cause, but that's irrelevant to my argument. The material cause is one of the four causes. Let me explain.
It's not irrelevant because
it's irrelevant to the argument. It's just a red herring. It's material cause. That's another concept. That
what you're missing here is that when it comes to specifically the conclusion of a God,
explain how the material. Okay, explain to me how the material cause. Can I ask you a question?
Let me respond to you, and then you can ask a question if you like. But
I didn't ask the question properly.
The conclusion of your argument is that it's reasonable to believe a God exists. But if we applied the mechanisms of this argument to God, that is not what we would be observing if he created the universe, if he actualized all states and affairs, because there would be a moment wherein God was the only thing that existed, and he would have nothing available to affect. And so there would be no potentials for him to actualize. So whatever process was involved in him, it's not irrelevant. Whatever process was involved in him creating all of reality is fundamentally different than anything that we have the inductive capacity to observe or extrapolate from in our local observation of the universe. And to apply that to the whole of reality without modification is wildly inappropriate.
I'm not applying anything. Aristotle didn't create, but didn't discover this concept because he wanted to argue for God. He was an atheist who rejected the Greek pantheon. He was an atheist. He, like I said in my earlier paragraph sentence, I said this, Aristotle developed this concept because he wanted to respond to Parmenides and Zeno, who are philosophers, ancient Greek philosophers, who denied that change occurs, that stuff is changing, that movement is there is movement. They denied that. And because they denied that, and Aristotle was angry at their stupidity, he developed this concept to refute them. But after he developed the concept to refute them, he started to think about his own concept and try to push it at the limit. And that's how the argument was born. He didn't develop because he wanted to conclude to God. God is a conclusion, not a premise. Second thing, it's a conclusion, but it's not a premise. I'm not positing God, then making an argument for God. I'm going from observation, from concepts, from principles, then I follow them to the end, no matter where they lead me. And Aristotle did that, and they led him to the existence of an unmoved mover. He never called it God. It's a modern.
I provided a defeater. I defeated your entire argument. So you haven't addressed my defeater.
I want to respond to your material nonsense.
So I said you don't need a God to be the prime mover. Problem solved.
This is not an argument nor a rebuttal to my argument.
Yes,
this is you're just saying. You just listen to me. This is not This is not very sophisticated. You're saying to me you don't need. There is a lot of There is a lot of things that I don't need or need. That's irrelevant. What's relevant is the argument valid, sound? If it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. No matter what I want or what you want. So let's try to focus on the argument. Change occurs. Do you deny that?
No, go ahead.
You don't deny that change occurs. Sure, and by the way, you're mentioning the material because that's so. Yeah? Sorry.
Go through the premises. Your premise, valid sound.
Okay, let me give you the premises because I don't. Okay, first premise: change is real feature of the world. You agree?
Sure.
Thank you. I don't have to prove change then.
Next.
But, so the second premise would be, as Aristotle defined it, and I can prove this: change. The definition of change is the actualization of a potential. Agree, disagree?
I can disagree, but let's grant it for the sake of argument. Go to the next one.
Because if every premise is true, the conclusion is necessarily true. There is no I don't want, I grant, I don't grant.
The conclusion is there is a purely actual thing. That's fine. It doesn't need to be God. The conclusion isn't God exists. The conclusion is a purely actual thing.
Yeah, but we're not there yet. Yes, that's true. I agree. That's true.
So there's no God.
That's actually the objection. Listen to me. Don't jump around. Stay with the argument. Focus. I'm not saying this unmoved mover God. I stated that. I said God is a modern term that we gave.
Yes, so I debunked your argument 15 minutes ago. This doesn't indicate a God.
Okay, I didn't debunk anything. You're not confronting the argument. By the way, I stated earlier that I'm very. Can I talk? Because if you don't let me talk, I just leave and let you talk by yourself.
So
okay, if I'm not saying anything,
your whole
if I'm not saying anything, then why am I wasting my time? I only have 5 minutes. So
stop.
One at a time.
I can grant your whole argument. Yes, pure actuality exists. It's a quantum field. No God. Problem solved. Your argument is debunked.
Okay, if you grant the full argument, this is so convenient to me, but inconvenient to you because I don't have a lot of time. Because once you establish that there is a pure actuality, there are 30 premises that every one of them can be proven that establish, because you start to think, what does a pure actual entail? What does it mean to be a pure actual? Meaning that you don't change, that you don't have any potentiality. That means that you are eternal, for example. Because change and decay means that you have potential. You don't change. You are immutable. So there is a whole premises and explanation that Aristotle actually does go into that jumps from proving that there is a pure actuality to proving that there is a God with the attributes that you guys are familiar with. But I'm not trying to argue for God right now. That comes for later. I don't have the time to do that. Maybe next time. For now, I'm just presenting the argument for the purely actual. That's it. So if you grant me that, I don't have anything to say. Next time, I'm going to prove to you that the attributes
you
are
said
true.
right after you finished your argument. I said 3 things. 1, actuality and potentiality are fake properties. They don't exist. There are abstracts that describe real properties. Wait. So that would debunk premise 2. Premise 2, false actuality, debunked. Second,
that's just an assertion. I gave you an example.
Stop. Even if I grant actuality is real, I can say, nope, it's not a God, because everything can be explained by a
Yeah, you can say anything you want. You need to prove it.
Stop interrupting. So everything can be explained in actuality without a God as a quantum field. I can go through every single one of the premises of Aristotle's argument and show they're garbage for the exact same conclusions of the first 3 things I said first. So, like, you haven't addressed any of my criticisms. I debunked everything you said over the past 10 minutes in the very first 3 things I said.
Okay. It's like you're reading a script or something. T-Jump, do you really take your serious?
Wow.
Do you really take? You just made assertion. The first premise is false. Tell me why.
The second premise. So the second premise is false because actuality doesn't exist as an independent property. Actuality is an abstract.
What's actuality? What's actuality?
It's an abstract.
I never said it's a property.
I'm literally the sentence I'm saying right now. Shut up and listen. Actuality and potentiality are abstract descriptions of real properties. Real properties exist. Potential does not exist. Actuality does not exist. They are abstract labels for real existing properties.
Know what potentiality or actuality are, and
yet you're saying they don't exist. I'm very familiar with Aristotle's arguments. I've talked with the experts.
This is amazing to me.
Like, I've literally had conversations.
Yeah, that doesn't matter if you're familiar. You're not familiar with the concept.
So I am very familiar with the
explain
concept.
to me. I'm gonna play the ignorant right now. Okay, sure. Can I? I'm gonna play the ignorant right now. Tell me what actuality and potentiality is. Explain it to me.
Actuality and potentiality are abstract labels we apply to real properties. So real properties are like energy, spin, momentum, charge. These are real properties. Actuality and potentiality are abstract labels for changes in those things. They don't actually exist.
Wow, you didn't say anything substantial there. It's just nonsense.
I literally did.
It's just nonsense. Okay, my time is up. Thank you for the conversation. You didn't deal with the argument. You made a lot of assertions.
Your whole point.
If you want to convince yourself that you debunk my argument,
not a very
that's your problem. Have a nice day.
I didn't get the opportunity to say this. I don't think you would have been receptive of it. But if, by definition, that which is purely actual, whatever that is, doesn't change, then how does it facilitate the existence of anything else? Because you would assume that, especially if we're talking about a God in this context, it has a mind and it has thoughts and goals and emotions and desires, or so everybody has ever conceived of a God having those things. And so the transition in states of affairs between its thought sequences would be a change. And so then by that definition, it wouldn't be purely actual. But then again, this also assumes that we need the purely actual because we must reject infinite regress, which I don't think that we have to.
In modern terms, the belief in God isn't really a choice. So people are told this and that and this and that, but you can only know through experience, right? And so, what is this term God mean? It's it's a meaning of a person or a deity who has the form of a homunculi, and is the demiurge of this planet. So they're the overseer of Earth or whatever, or they just seen that it was nice, so they came and they like blessed the people, And
John, hey, welcome. You said that in modern terms, it's not a choice to believe. It is a choice for me, so I have some doubts about these.
I'm not taking that away from you, and
no, I'm saying I have some doubts.
No, I'm thinking. Wait, let me say my point.
Which modern terms you're referring to?
So there's this homunculi that you can refer to as a all-intelligent being that can see and think in ways that would absolutely make foolish of everything that we do, are, and say, because they have an extreme understanding of the reality of nature and on living on different dimensions.
How would it make us foolish? How would that make us
because
foolish?
of how supreme and how ultimate, and how intelligent said God is. So said being that you referred to as a because there's different terms. So there's you can refer to as
hold on. If we lack certain knowledge, but we act upon the knowledge that we have, does that mean that we're foolish?
It means that you can coin whatever meaning you want to it, but this is what I'm saying.
No. I'm addressing what you said.
God is real.
I'm addressing what you said. If a God thinks that we act upon our knowledge, not having any other knowledge, but only the knowledge that we have, if a God thinks that is foolish, then I would say that God is foolish.
You can say that too, yeah. And I'm not gonna try to take that away from you, man. No, but I do fear that there's a lava pit on the outskirts of heaven that, will stay there for an eternity, and I do not want anybody going there, because that is absolutely horrifying for any soul, any man, any person.
Hold on. I'm curious. You're talking about a God that we have no knowledge of, that we can't see, test, investigate, and you seem to know what that God thinks.
Well,
you seem to know how that God acts.
It has to be through your own experience.
Can I finish my sentence? Can I finish my sentence? So you seem to think that there is a God that we can't measure, test, or observe. You seem to think that you know what that God thinks and what it does. My question is, how do you know this?
Have you heard of the term as above, so below? It's referring to the heavens, and the heavens is in the mind. So it's capable. Anybody is capable of thinking heavenly thoughts and of great things. So you can imagine fucking an entire.
It's still my thought. My question was, how do you know the thoughts and the thinking process of a God?
My experience, I have, if you've heard of the tree or of the river of life, the river of immortality or whatever, I can quote unquote claim that I've seen it, and I can claim that I've drank of this pure, what people refer to as vril.
Where's this river of immortality?
It's somewhere between. It isn't a physical reality, so you just kind of have to push your soul out of your body,
and to do that,
you have to just be uncomfortable.
to the point to where your soul just doesn't want to stay in your body.
I just want to take a
It's
brief
a
moment to say
river
that
that
everything coming
isn't
out of
a
your mouth makes
river,
no fucking
and you
sense.
drank from it.
And well, the thing is, you cannot touch it. You have to like drink from it without using like your skin. Your skin cannot
That's
touch
all
it.
well and great. That's all well and great, but it does in no way answer my question. My question was, how do you know God's thoughts and actions?
I pray to God, and I have like clairvoyancy, so I can see like if I make a decision that like went against what I had originally planned, I can see that there's a change gonna happen. I can see like, okay, I made this decision, and then okay, so I didn't like, for example, I didn't want to date this girl, and then I seen in that moment from me like ending, like telling, well, like me not making like, actually not like going through with it. I seen what the outcome was gonna be. And then I chose based upon that. But if I hadn't, it would have been, may have not been different.
You can see in the future. You can see in the future.
I really don't.
Okay,
I hate to interrupt.
It's
but
like,
it sounds like
okay,
you're
if
interacting
you've
with a
heard
guy
of the
trying to articulate an LSD trip. Like, how many psychedelics have you taken, John?
Or it's Hare Krishna.
Or Krishna. Whatever.
Can I please continue my line of questioning, because I'm actually trying to go somewhere, and we can, if we start deflecting on other things, it's not going to be helpful. So again, you didn't answer my question. My question was, how do you know that you can read God's mind? Because you getting ideas and you thinking that you can see the future has no bearing on what I'm asking. I'm asking you how you know what God thinks. Even if you see something in the future, how do you know that comes from a God?
Ooh, that's a very good question, and that is something. Okay, before I get my fucking bitches in a bundle, let me get my facts straight. Let me get my mind right. So I have experiences to where I like adamantly like throughout my entire day, I have I'm very capable of thinking, and so I think thoughts of like praying to God in a way that that facilitates peace and like love, and like something, and like in order to better myself, and I prayed like pretty much throughout the entire day in my mind, and from this I have like visual experiences to where I see what the ancient Egyptians would call like Ni or Anu, and it's like little white spectacles of energy. They sometimes appear white or red, and it's just a sort of like I believe, like I don't let doubt change my mind, because once you let doubt enter your mind, that's like contamination.
I can get that, but if what you are saying is true, we can test it. So tell me what my next question to you is.
I can't do that right now.
Why?
I just smoked a cigarette, and I'm only 20. Usually the coming of age is 33.
Hold on. This is becoming weird. So you smoked the cigarette, and the cigarette is preventing you from seeing into the future. Is that because of the fumes, or is that because of you inhale it? How
the
does that work?
nicotine prevents you from seeing the future, just so you know.
More of it's okay. So you're saying
it's quite handy that you just smoke the cigarette. So if you put the cigarette away, can you then see the future? If so, put the cigarette away for a minute.
Okay, I don't want to feed into this doubt because it's only going to stray further from the point. Because I just want to keep it simple and as little words.
That's exactly what
as
I
I
was
can.
trying to do.
So,
it's remove the doubt. So if you can put out your cigarette for a moment, I'll light one up, and then you can tell me what my next question is.
I am like, that is...
You're making a claim. I'm just trying to test it. Don't be afraid. Nothing's going to happen. God is not going to punish you. Just you made a claim that you can see into the future, and I want to test that. So just put out your cigarette for a minute.
Now, this might seem like a quibble, but Peter, you've just made a claim that God is not going to punish him.
I'm fairly sure, because if his God is benevolent, he's going to help him, trying to convince me that he exists. So he's not going to punish him. Actually, he's going to help him.
And you have the question in mind, right?
I have a question in mind. I will type it in the moderator chat so they can check it whether or not I'm telling the truth.
To be honest, I can't make any assumptions on what that thought would be, because I'm not like feeling any responses or anything.
Nor have you ever.
So what you're saying is you made a claim. You made a claim, but you
in the sense of hearing somebody else's.
I'm just testing your claim. You said you can see into the future, and when I asked you to demonstrate that, you came up with the fact that you were having a cigarette that would prevent you from seeing the future. And that to me seems a very weak excuse. I'm just saying.
Okay.
And you say you pray all day, and by praying you see the future, which means that you have never smoked, but you just started smoking when I asked you to demonstrate your abilities.
It's not something that I can control. I don't really think about it in a way of like.
So you have been confronted with some coincidences, and then through the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, you thought that you were able to see into the future.
It's a spontaneous occurrence that only that I can't like fully comprehend myself even. So
coincidence usually is spontaneous.
But I'll just make a random guess as to what your next thought will be. And
what was my question? Do a random guess.
Why are we entertaining this?
To make him show that he doesn't have the ability that he thinks he has.
We're all aware of that.
I mean, he took the effort to come up. At least we can entertain his idea.
What experience do I have in saying that I can make these claims? Is that your question?
Taco, can you read my question? I typed it in the group chat. Or anyone else, for that matter.
Do you want a new guess?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for coming up, John. We've got one more person.
One more person.
Yeah. My question was, what brand of cigarettes do I smoke?
Welcome, Streaming.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Go with Marlboro Reds.
Yeah, no. My main thing, just because I popped in like in the middle of this thing, I wanted to know like what's some of you guys' main arguments against a god or God, whichever way you want to put it. If that's the camp you guys are in,
I don't have an argument against something that I don't think exists.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, what particular, what convinces you that a God or the Christian God doesn't exist?
Oh, the Christian God. Oh, that's easy. The Bible.
I mean, the Bible. Fuck the Bible. The Bible was written by men, but like, let's just say, like, trying to think of a way.
Okay, if you say that, where did you get your information from the Christian God from?
Well, again, that's why I'm not trying to specify the Christian God per se, because like
you just specified the Christian God. Then I gave you my reasons why I don't believe in that Christian God, and then you said that was irrelevant because
no.
Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Then you said the book was written by human beings. Then I asked you a question you didn't answer.
Right.
That was, how do you know anything about the Christian God if not from the Bible?
Oh no, I don't. That's why, like, I misspoke more than anything. That's why I'm not trying to specify the Christian God. I'm just trying to, like, if you do you believe in like any sort of like what's the way to phrase it? Any kind of like yeah. Something that would have created. Okay, is there a reason why? Like any particular reason why?
There's no evidence for it.
Well, okay. Again, that's the main thing I wanted to start by asking. I don't have a particularly strong at least a particularly original argument. That last guy, that he definitely didn't help his case very much because he just took a bunch of anecdotal evidence, and he could be telling the truth.
Come up with your argument. Let's not talk about other people who aren't here to defend themselves.
Okay. Well, my arguments it's not particularly original at all. It's just it's the classic thing. I'm sure you've heard it before. It's like life and how it exists now and how everything like operates in our universe and everything is just like so improbable that it just like happened by chance, So while there's no like
screaming, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you understand how probability is calculated?
Not like super academically. No, I mean,
right. Just out of curiosity, let's assume for the sake of argument that we could prove without a shadow of a doubt that a God existed, right?
Sure.
Would you ever be able to calculate the odds of him deciding to create this particular universe over any other one?
Probably not. I mean, I don't think so. But I also think
the odds of this particular the odds of this particular arrangement in our current state of affairs, right? Like this life exists the way it does now, as opposed to some other way. Like the probability of that happening is wholly irrelevant because it's an indeterminable variable, regardless of whether or not a God exists.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's why I said it's not what I think is not a particularly original argument. It's just everything's so improbable that in some ways, to me, it makes more sense that something had a hand in its creation than it just happening on its own. But I mean, what you just
said,
you
have to calculate the odds that being just happened to exist as opposed to not existing. That it had an effective will as opposed to a non-effective will. That it desired to create this particular set of circumstances. That it knew that this would be the consequences of that creation, so on and so forth. I mean,
it's a whole thing that like lapses on itself over and over again. But
I'll tell you this much, Screaming. Yeah. Whenever you're attempting to calculate the probability of a particular event, the more variables you add into that calculation, the lower the probability of the event.
Yeah.
And God is one of the biggest assumed variables that you could possibly imagine. So
very much so.
Whatever the probability of something happening is, removing God makes it more likely.
I guess that is one way to look at it, but again, that's why I said my argument's not particularly original or strong. I mostly just wanted to like chime in to see you guys' arguments against it.
So Screaming, there's a couple of versions of what people debate sometimes. One of them is fine-tuning about the universe itself. The other is about the likelihood of life arising.
Yeah.
The likelihood of life arising arguments seem to have mostly like been strangled to death by their own inconsistency with empirical facts. So in the universe, we would estimate there is something like 10 to the 25th power planets. That would be 10, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I'm going to stop, right? Because I got less than halfway through it. Okay.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot.
Given a lot of planets where different conditions could exist, like some of those planets are too close to the suns, some of those planets have suns that are too hot or whatever, you would expect that the vast majority of those probably would not be able to support life, because life takes a very small Goldilocks zone of conditions to work the way that it does on Earth, at least.
Yeah, at least carbon-based life.
Yeah. So, I mean, there could be other types of...
Yeah.
But just assuming life like ours, right, we would assume that a small fraction of the planets can support it. But being on one of those planets in a universe with 10 to the 25 planets is not a surprising fact. What would be surprising is if we were the only ones, right? Because there's many planets.
I agree.
So whatever things you think make life improbable are vastly smaller than the priors of how many planets there are and how many variations that gives life a chance to arise in.
You're referring to the Drake
equation. Try to look at it this way, because this is the analogy I use. It's not that hard to win the lottery when you buy every possible combination of tickets.
Yeah, when you buy 10 to the 25 tickets.
And honestly, you probably make the argument that it's an even higher number than that, because a whole like infinitely expanding universe and shit. So, like I said, I just wanted to like chime in to mostly ask about that because I was curious. It's a
Screaming Comp. I'll try to answer your question. Just you might want to look into the Drake equation. I put a link in the chat. You'll probably find that quite interesting. It talks about what IX and the others here have been alluding to with probabilities.
Yeah.
The Drake equation is famous for this, and it's very well laid out by the SETI Institute. When I'm to kind of answer your original question, when people are presenting a deity to me or multiple deities, I want to know a little bit about them, their characteristics and things like that, because that helps me to determine how I'm going to respond. Very often, like Christian deities, they bring in omniscience and omnipotence and things like that, and then there's always with that. So,
right. Which chat is that in? Because I probably do want to look at that.
Heathen Hangout, or you can go to the YouTube channel where we're live streaming it, and I just posted the link in there as well.
Hey, wicked. Well, yeah. I mean, like I say, I hope I didn't waste you guys' time. I really did just want
to just one more thing.
Wasting our time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one more thing. Considering that, as far as we know, the only life in the universe exists on this planet. That would make the universe finely tuned for life not existing.
Fair enough, man. Even that is a concept that I just disagree with, also kind of based off probability. I mean, obviously we've never observed
if it was finely tuned for life, we've been to Mars. There would be life there.
Not that part. What you just said makes perfect sense. Just don't believe that we would be the only life in the universe. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I think there would have to be something.
I don't believe that. What I'm saying is,
but assuming that is the case. Yeah.
As far as we know, and we've been to the moon. We've been now to Mars. We've sent out probes into the solar system that have observed other planets.
Yeah.
Haven't picked up any life signs there. So I think it's still safe to conclude that within our solar system, we're the only planet that has life, which
that's evolved to be intelligent, I will say, because I think they've discovered there may be some microbial
microbes and shit,
polar ice caps and whatnot.
Yeah.
Another thing to consider is that even on our planet, life still has a hard time. 99% of every species that has ever existed has been brutally retired from that existence, and even human life, right? And, creationist ideals and the teleological argument tend to adopt the anthropic principle, wherein basically the universe is created for us. Obviously, that's not the case.
I think it's nonsense. I think that's nonsense.
A couple of factors to consider there would be the fact that we drink fresh water to survive. We have to. And 71% of the planet is salt water. Another consideration is that we have to breathe oxygen to survive, which slowly poisons us and degrades cellular meiosis, which causes aging. We have a respiratory and digestive tract forced to share the same plumbing. There's an endless list of things that you could improve on if you had like unlimited creative ability.
But that's not what we observe.
You can improve the human design for sure.
Most of planet Earth is inhospitable to life. There are places, even on the surface, that we can't survive in, such as inside volcanoes would be an extreme example.
Well, tell that to the water bear.
Well, yeah, and also the bulk of the surface area of the Earth is ocean. Unfortunately, we don't live in the year 3000, so we don't all live underwater.
No. Unfortunately, we're not all tardigrades.
Yeah, we're not Atlanteans. So 29% of the Earth is land, but only about 11% of that land is habitable by humans.
Right. And I'm proud Dutch. Half of our country, we made that land.
Yeah, that's I mean, all of those are great points. I mean, obviously, I believe, like, I have a somewhat agnostic view of, like, if there is something that made us, because, like, I don't like a lot of the ideas of, like, denominational Christianity. It all sounds pretty, like, awful, or most of it sounds pretty awful. And, you know, a lot of the stuff you guys just said is another reason why it's not very logical, and I do appreciate, like, logic and reason. And you just presented pretty strong arguments against a lot of those ideas, so I can't really argue against any of that, you know?
Wait, we turned the title of this room against you? We convinced you he doesn't exist?
No, not exactly. No, not yet. I'm conceding that I don't have any argument that will convince you. Unfortunately. But
well, what is more important? What's the argument that convinced you?
Well, I mean, like I said, I still believe in something 100%, just because, you know, faith and all that, and I find it pretty comforting to believe that there's, like, a God and an afterlife. I don't know what you guys' opinions are on an afterlife, and maybe that's a separate thing.
I have a question on that. So
sure.
You say you believe because it's comforting.
Yes.
Would you want to know whether or not what you believe is actually true?
I mean,
and take away the comfort.
I would like to know. You know, in some sense that, like, removes the anxiety. You know, I'm not like scared of death per se, but sometimes I think about it and I get a little freaked out only because, like, you know, I've existed. And,
here's an argument that I use. Here's an argument that I use for that. What's your favorite food?
Shit, I don't know. Fucking. Let me think of something. I eat a lot of tilapia
just pick anything. It's a thought experiment.
Tilapia fillets, bro. Tilapia fillets.
Okay, so let's imagine that for the next 50 years, that's all the food you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think it's going to take for you to start hating the food?
I don't think it would take that long, man.
Exactly. So, and here's my thing. If there's an afterlife, it's going to continue on and on and on and on for an eternity.
Right.
How long do you think it'll take you to start hating that?
I have no idea, but mostly because, again, like, try not to steer too hard into the, like, denominational Christian view of things. Whenever they talk about the afterlife, it's kind of like just a really different state of existence, you know? It's different from what we experience right now. Which, granted, you still don't know exactly what that would be like. But
if that's the case, the thing surviving is not you.
I mean, how do I phrase this?
If you're going to be different in the afterlife, it's not you.
Well, it's not different in the sense of, like, not being you. It's supposed to be different just in the way that you exist, you know? because you don't have the same needs.
No, not you.
I guess I don't know how to convince you on that, because like again, it's just a different state of being. Like, we're alive right now, and being alive comes with a lot of stress, I guess would be one way to put it. You know, you have to eat, you have to do all this, that. I'm sure you guys work probably. You have to have income, and you have to continue being alive. It's a thing you have to manage, you know. So it's just a very different.
I agree, but so that is looking at the glass being half empty. So there are also a lot of beautiful moments that I can recall from my life. But
I agree, bro.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
For something to be beautiful, it has to end.
There has to be.
Because, And so for me, and that's how I look at life, it can only be beautiful if there's an ending to it. Because otherwise, it's going to be tedious. It's going to start annoying you. I would not want, if I had a choice, one of the things would be that I at some point it's over and I don't have to continue.
I mean, that's fair. Like, I agree with you. I love life as it is. I like being alive.
Too.
But that's
Me too. And I'm enjoying it.
No, I am too. That's why that's one of the reasons why I say what I do. I can't imagine ever just like ceasing my existence entirely, you know? Because when you go to sleep, you're unconscious, quote unquote, but you're still.
You can't imagine it. It's really easy. Imagine what you were like before you were born.
I don't remember that.
Going to be. That's what you're going to be. Nothing to be scared of. It doesn't hurt. There's literally nothing you experience that is going to be bad. Just like it wasn't before you were born.
I still just kind of don't like that. Or maybe the whole reincarnation thing's true. I don't know. But I do like living, you know?
No.
You know, it's again, that's just like nothing I can convince you on. That's just me saying that is why I believe in something. I find it very comforting to think that there's something after death, and that's not just like a complete wrap, you know? Because I can't really picture that. I mean, I what you just said makes sense, but I can't really remember before I was born either, so I can't quite picture that either, you know?
So would you agree then that your belief is emotion based because of the comfort aspect?
It's definitely a part of it. I've applied like logic and reason to it, but there's very logical and reasonable arguments against that belief as well, you know? And you guys presented a bunch of them. And, you know, there's something to be said for the fact that we just don't really like know anything until we can observe it. And it's not even the universe, like proper, as far as I know, isn't completely observable. You know, we stop seeing shit at some point. So, yeah, I mean, I would have to concede the point that definitely is a pretty good portion of it. I like to believe in something.
If your goal is just to be able to live forever, and you could conceive of some alternative means by which you could live forever, and if those means of living forever were actually less likely to come to pass, given a world where most people believe in a theistic pretend version of living forever instead of the actually feasible way of living forever, then wouldn't it be more practical to give up the pretend certainty that you're guaranteed an afterlife, an imaginary reason, and to work on the actual harder problem of achieving some actual means of extending human life to the far future?
Possibly, yeah. But
you could be a life extension scientist. I know a bunch of people that work in.
No, yeah, for sure. It's although that does bring up a point. Peter, I believe, yeah, that's what his name is. He made about eventually just getting like bored of being alive as we are now.
That would be a choice. Like both of you deserve to have your preferences honored.
Yeah, right? you would probably be able to make the choice, and you could just like stop living when you got tired of it, I guess.
Yeah.
And also in my concept, I think it makes for leading a better life. if I know that I'm not going to see anyone that I loved on this planet in a heaven, I'm probably going to maintain my relationships better as if I would when I would get to a heaven and then everything would be hunky-dory anyway.
I mean, yeah, that's true. A lot of people...
And you would spend more time with the people you love, knowing that there's going to come a time when you can't anymore.
Right.
And that kind of gets back to what I was saying before, that like our greatest hope for eliminating death or minimizing death to those prematurely who, don't deserve it, is going to be in the form of not pretending like death is not a real thing. So denial about death is actually poisonous to your ability to avoid death. People who think that the afterlife is coming are going to take less measures to value and enjoy.
Picky cut out? I don't know. Maybe that's me.
Oh no, it looks like IX cut out. I'm not sure what happened there. Hopefully,
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can
hear you now.
All I was saying is that like you're more able to maximize the preservation of life if you don't believe that death isn't real, right? So acknowledging a problem, like I agree wholeheartedly with you personally that death is something I don't look forward to, but it's not something I want to deny, because denying it is going to prevent me from coming to terms with it and potentially to make it as far away in the future as possible and to prevent it from coming to innocent people that don't deserve it.
For sure. And I mean, I appreciate that view a lot. Because like I said, none of this really changes my mind on like believing in something, because that is the biggest thing with that. So it's like you hear the whole faith argument a lot, and that really is just what it is. And there's no way to like prove or disprove it. You either believe or you don't, and that kind of just is what it is, I definitely still believe that there is something, and like I said, I've applied logic and reason to it as far as I think I can, and I think it's about as probable as anything else. But all of that again comes down to the fact that you never really know. We never really know anything, maybe that's a bit of a hyperbole, but
I think you can call it probable or improbable on any given question without a claim to certainty, though. And I think that's why many people, even if they say they're technically agnostic, they're not saying that they don't see one or another possibility as more likely and have good reasons for that.
Fair enough. Well,
just one quick question. What is the God you believe in?
I'm not super sure. I just believe that if something made us, it's sort of like the denominational Christian view, and that I believe if we have a creator, that he probably cares for us and wants us to, just like live and live well.
So here's a thought experiment. And people have told me that I'm bragging. I'm not bragging, so I'm going to explain this. A while ago, there was this a woman a lot younger than me wanted to go on a date, and I held that off for about a year. And then I fell in love with that woman and got together with her. When I got together with her, I found out that she was already in a relationship with another woman. And then we figured that out. Now all three of us live together. It apparently works out.
Okay.
Let's say I was to believe in the Christian God and I get to heaven. How is our relationship going to be in heaven, and who's going to be allowed in and who isn't?
In my view, if you're all,
if it's the Christian God.
Well, again, that's why I say my beliefs are, excuse me, by the way, I'm eating. So if you can hear that, I apologize. Again, my views are slightly different from there. Like there's a lot of stuff the Bible says that I just can't agree with, because I believe if there is a God and he's, benevolent, that he would, if people are just like genuinely good people and they lead good lives while they're alive, that they would be rewarded for that,
My best friend is a Christian. Is exactly what he says.
Okay. Well, I mean that's good.
I still point out to him that if you're a Christian, there is this book, and this book says a lot about your God, and your God does not agree with you.
That's fair. But that's why I say I think I fall into a somewhat agnostic camp. There's just things like
You're
there is
breaking up.
something. I
You're breaking
apologize.
up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's why I said I fall into a somewhat agnostic camp on things, just because I think if something made us and it truly cares for us and is benevolent, a lot of the stuff in the Bible, which is why I don't agree with a lot of the things in the Bible, just they don't add up to me, you know? Because I remember for a while, when I was younger, like when I was 12, my parents finally started to try to get us into church. And we went to a Baptist church. And a big thing in baptism is like once saved, always saved. It doesn't matter what you do after that point, you know, you're good basically. And I don't agree with that idea. You know, I think if there is something that's like judging you based off your character, he's not gonna.
That would be a good escape from Pascal's wager. Just get baptized and then leave the church again and do whatever you want.
Yeah, and I don't agree
now you
with
got
that.
the ticket.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't like that idea at all. Which is why like I said, I fall into a somewhat agnostic camp on things. Because my family and then there's another thing where my family growing up was Catholic, and there's a whole nother mess of stuff with Catholicism. You know, everything has its weird bits that I don't quite like, you know?
All I can say is that if the only reason you believe is because it's comforting,
that is a big reason.
Again?
I was saying that's a big reason. The other reason is that I do see like a logical argument for it, but there's also. Oh, go ahead. My bad.
What is the biggest reason?
No. Just like I told you, the biggest reason is that I find comfort in it. The other reason is what I opened up with, where I think there's like a logical argument in terms of like probability for how things in the world operate, where there is a reasonable case to be made that something designed it, and I think that's a fairly reasonable argument. But you guys also all made very reasonable arguments against that, and I acknowledge that. But
the only thing that I can tell you is if the comfort is the biggest reason, I would want to know if that actually is valid, because if I'm comforted by something that doesn't exist, then I'm living a false belief, and I wouldn't want that to happen. And the only thing you can do about that is figure that out for yourself, and maybe start investigating whether or not it holds true.
Yeah, 100%. I've thought about that a lot as well, but it all ultimately comes down to, in the end, we don't really know until we get to that point, you know. I have thought about that a lot, especially when you look at like a lot of what's taught in like denominational faiths. It's like if you believe the wrong thing, that's a wrap for you, buddy. You're going straight to hell. So,
well, if the God is benevolent, wouldn't he want you to know that he exists? Or would he want to have you live your life guessing that you made the right choice, that you have the correct beliefs? I think an omnibenevolent God would make it clear, so people don't have to guess. They would know.
I agree with that. But that's sort of like where the whole free will argument comes in, and that we do have free will. It's like a beautiful thing. You can believe whatever you want at the end of the day, which is where like you get into another argument of if there was something that made us and it was all just like a perfect system, kind of like what would be the point in existing at that point? It's a whole thing. So, you know, I see what you're saying, 100%. It just doesn't really like rattle my faith at all. Which is why like I opened up saying my argument for
something existing. Well, it's not particularly original or strong. I'm sure you guys have heard it before. There's no shot I've been the first person to come up here and try to make that argument, right?
Actually, you're kind of in the minority of people who are using this kind of approach. Most of the time, the people I encounter figure they've got some way of convincing me. One guy told me a few days ago he's going to join on the stream here, and he's going to make me cry in how he goes about proving that God is real. And a lot of people come with a lot of self-assurance that they've got it all figured out. And your approach is not like that. Your approach is actually quite nice, I think.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. It's just,
I agree.
Has that guy done that yet, by the way? Has he shown up and tried to make you cry yet? Because I'd like to be here for that.
I would say the same, except I'm already here the whole time. No, they haven't done that, but that's okay. Maybe next fortnight.
Hey, yeah. Hopefully I don't miss it. It's just we run every 2 weeks, every fortnight.
I can point to one thing that actually just happened. Someone in the chat on YouTube said they were glad finding out about my channel, and it has made them think. Those are the messages that really get to me.
Yeah,
that is what I set out to do. Try and make people think. I'm not always good at it. I'd be the first one to admit. But those are the messages. Yeah, that really get to me.
Yeah, you're phenomenal. But actually, something I just thought about that I also want to ask. What do you guys think about like spirits and ghosts and shit? What are your thoughts on that? Do you believe in that at all, or do you have like an explanation for what things that happen that people would attribute to that?
Right off the bat, I'm just going to say that when it comes to deity-dependent spirits that have a dependency on a deity having created them or for them to continue to survive, obviously what flows from atheism, from not believing in deities, is those spirits will be included with that group, because if their dependency isn't there, why would we believe in those spirits as well? Now, there are atheists who believe in spirits that don't depend on deities, because there are plenty of ghosts and spirits and other kind of supernatural creatures that are not at all deity dependent. They're completely independent from it. So
that's what I'm wondering about.
In atheism, just to be clear, there's nothing about atheism that requires rationality or adherence to logic or things like that. Just like anything else, there are plenty of people who don't believe and have no reason at all for it, or have bad reasons for it. So there is some misunderstanding about it. Some people think that all atheists are more intellectual or smarter or something, and there's even some atheists who make that claim, and I disagree with those. In my experience, I find there's a whole spectrum of interests in supernaturalism and supernatural ideas and traditions and things like that permeate throughout the theism and atheism demographics both. It's just the difference with the atheism demographic is the absence of belief in deities, in goddesses or gods, and that's pretty much it. There's levels of intellect are right up to the roof and down to the very bottom. The only exception to that, I would say, is that the theism demographic does have a slightly higher minimum requirement of intelligence than atheism does, because to be a theist, you must believe in at least one god or goddess, and to do that, you must first conceptualize at least partly. You don't have to have a full, thorough conceptualization, but at least a partial conceptual concept in your mind of what a deity is before you can believe in it. That is a prerequisite that can't be avoided, and so atheists don't have that requirement. We're not required to have that cognitive faculty. So there could be atheists who are not capable of conceptualizing deities, and they're atheists.
Right. But I just, you personally, do you believe in those things? Like,
no, I don't.
You don't? Okay.
But that's not because I'm an atheist, except for the ones that are.
Yeah, I get that. But I bring that up because that is like another thing that convinces me that there's, at the very least, things beyond our understanding out there. Because, which obviously that's a given. There's plenty of things like,
even outside of like a religious aspect, we just don't understand. But I remember being a child. Not to give you my whole fucking life story, but me and my mom and my brother, we lived in a bunch of different apartments when I was younger for whatever reason. And I remember one apartment we wound up staying in. I would be there by myself, and this isn't me. Again, this is an anecdote. There's no way for y'all to like, prove this shit happened. But I remember weird shit would happen while I was there, like all the time. Like I remember one time I was there at night, and there was this closet like in the living room, and I was just sitting down, doing whatever I did as a kid. And then this loud banging came from inside the closet. So my first thought was, okay, maybe there's some shit in there that fell over, right? So I open up the door, look inside, and the closet's just completely empty. That freaked me the fuck out back then, like quite a bit. And I'm just trying to ignore it.
Did you say that was in an apartment?
Yes.
Yeah, so sounds can carry through apartment walls, and that's quite well known. There can be sounds even from stuff going on in the sewers underneath the road.
Can I interject for a moment?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I figured that would be an argument that comes up, but the thing that always threw me looking back to it is it wasn't just a sound. It was like visibly rattling that door, and it was very clearly like something pounding against the middle of the door, like multiple very hard knocks. And I always remember back to that. And I don't know what to attribute that to other than something supernatural, because I tried to find like a logical explanation to it, and I just can't think of anything. And another thing that happened in that same apartment, I was there by myself again one day, and I was like microwaving food or something, and I left something on top of the microwave, walked back into our living room, and then while I'm sitting in the living room, that thing I left on top of the microwave goes flying across that room and hits the wall. And again, the same thing. I tried to figure out something that, like, not supernatural that could have made that happen. And I could never come to a conclusion. Like, if you guys have any explanation.
Microwaves emit really strong electromagnetic radiation. If you ever try to use like a Bluetooth headset or anything like near a microwave, you experience interference. And it's possible that some object that you put on top of the microwave had metal in it or something like that that was, minutely influenced by it.
Yep. The microwave ovens pollute
a plastic.
They pollute the wireless signal for the older style Wi-Fi that people have at home. If you're on WPA3, usually you're on a newer Wi-Fi that's on 5G. If you're on 5G, you'll be fine. If it's 2.4G, you're going to have some interference experiences for sure.
No, yeah. I do know that. Yeah.
The thing to ask yourself is try to think beyond your own anecdotal experience, because you'll acknowledge that like, you're not an investigator on this topic, right?
Of course.
But that's
why I'm asking.
If you look at the whole field of claims about these kinds of things and attempts to prove or disprove them, right? You would expect that if it's as common a thing as something that happens on the regular in your weird, spooky apartment or something, you'd expect that someone in the world would have just managed to produce the convincing evidence documenting how this works.
Yeah, for sure.
That hasn't happened. What we have found is that the people who have attempted to present themselves as having the proof repeatedly get exposed as frauds. So if you go on YouTube and just pick like the top couple like major to prove ghosts, and then Google their names, you will find people that worked for them who were paid to lie about the things that they're trying to make money off of on YouTube, right? If you go to historical examples, the history of claims about ghosts, you'll find that a huge number of the cases were perpetrated by pranksters who were just often like small children you could hide inside of person could be, or who were hiding in the walls of the house or whatever. And there's just so much motivation for mischief
for sure.
Falsifying this kind of thing, that a vast majority of these cases can be explained by the simple motive to deceive. The others can be explained often by people's self-deception. And, it seems like that's not the kind of weight of evidence where you would say, well, I heard a weird noise in my apartment, so I must have heard a supernatural phenomenon.
No, definitely not. That's why I'm asking, because I would like to hear, like, reasons these things could have happened. Because I remember, even as a child, I was trying to, like, rationalize about it, but I just couldn't come to a conclusion, because it's like I was telling Randolph, I assume that's what I should call you.
Yep.
When that thing happened with the door, it wasn't just like a sound. It was like you could see the door vibrating from being like hit, basically.
So, were you able to rule out a draft, like a very strong wind or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. There were no vents in that closet. There were no objects in that closet. Like, that's the first thing I did is I opened it, I checked it, and I was like, yeah, there's got to be something in there that just fell. Our doors were closed. Our door that led outside was closed. All kinds of things, and I mean, maybe there's like some arguments for weird things like energy just carries over or some shit. I don't know.
So there's evidence, like I've looked into this a little bit. There's evidence that reports of things like ghost phenomena occur more frequently in areas with extremely strong like geomagnetic interference patterns coming from the Earth. And so there's a hypothesis that very strong like Earth radiation stuff can make our brains hallucinate differently and more frequently. Because people have found that some places are more likely to produce these types of observations. And the ghost hypothesis is, well, that's because there's ghosts there, right?
Yes.
But the environmental factors hypothesis says that there could be a variety of environmental factors which are more explanatory. And they're empirically validated hypotheses. There's numerous examples of these being quantified and demonstrated that the environmental factors in totally different places produce similar differences in the reporting rates of these phenomena. So they ask people like how do you feel in a room that is reported to have ghosts in it? And then they take the environmental factors about that room. They just pick a random place, they reproduce, and then people have the same rate of given just identical environmental factors in different spots that arguably don't have any reason to think they're haunted.
Right. I mean, all that's fair. It's just I live in Mississippi, so I don't know if that's one of those locations that fit the bill on that. But the things I experienced, quote unquote, I'm pretty positive weren't hallucinations. They were all very like physical things, and that's the thing that throws me off about them. Like I don't know. I'm not necessarily saying it's like ghosts or whatever because again I don't know, but like rational explanations for them all seem very hard to come up with because there's more things than that. But I'm not going to go on and on about them. It was just like
you'd think in a world with billions of smartphones, though, that someone would have taken the time to document these things in a way that's demonstrable.
Well, I mean, I was a child. I was a poor child. I didn't have a phone, so there's no way I could record anything. But that's a good point.
Reports of supernatural phenomena have gone down at roughly the rate that cell phone cameras have gone up, and I think it's arguably because these claims are no longer viable in a world where people can ask you to produce evidence of them.
For sure. I mean, like, I'm sitting here, I have no reason to lie about the things that happened there.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying you're lying about what you experienced.
Of course.
I'm just saying
that, since we now have more ways for people to document these things very easily, but nobody does.
It didn't happen is a very standard response to this kind of stuff. And you can say, well, I personally haven't had.
And perhaps one good example of this would be UFO pictures of flying saucers. People with better quality cameras, they take pictures of these things and they realize what they are because the quality is better. Whereas in the past, the picture quality wasn't as good, so people had to develop the film, and later on they look at it, they don't even remember the whole scenario so well, and say, "Oh, that must be a flying saucer," because they've been watching the movies, right? So now we have better quality camera pictures, so we see a lot fewer UFO sightings as well.
Yeah. I hate to be one of those guys because just a couple years ago I was just gonna say because I am one of those people at this point who didn't document their shit or whatever. I definitely tried to. I remember for whatever reason one night I was like in a Target parking lot at like 2 a.m. I don't know what you guys' takes on like aliens and shit are. I remember being in a Target parking lot at 2 a.m. and I was just looking up at the sky because the sky was really pretty, and then I saw this thing up there moving. It was moving in a very like irregular way from a normal aircraft, and for some reason, because I was just doing it for goofs in the moment, I like tried to talk to the thing and asked it to spell out words. And like I swear to God, I mean not that means anything here. Swear to God, it spelled the words out like that I was asking it to. It was really fucking weird. I wish I had documented that better, and I tried to, even though
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some explanation for that. There definitely could be, but that was such a strange experience. I think about that thing a lot too. It was bizarre.
Yeah, and there's a possibility that there's something a little bit different about your brain that's causing you to see these things that isn't drug induced or anything like that. There's sometimes we're born with little quirks, right? Things like that can happen as well. And I would encourage you not to immediately rule those kinds of things out. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's just the way you are. And if you can understand that maybe that's been what's going on, if you're able to find some way to confirm it, that could be helpful to you.
I mean, maybe. It's just all these things have actually been very infrequent. I definitely haven't seen like a lot of paranormal shit in my life. Like, have you guys seen anything that you would at least find rather hard to explain in your life? Like, at least hard to explain.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of things that I've not understood when I was a kid, and later on came to realize that I just didn't have an explanation for them, and the things that I was considering were not supported by anything. Deep down, I knew I was making assumptions about them. It's just kind of this is a normal thing that I think a lot of people do over time.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, again, I'd make the case that there's probably, supernatural things. I'm using the word supernatural really only in the sense that there's just like probably other things out there in the world, like in some way. And it could be any way. It could be like spiritual. It could be fucking aliens. Again, like I would make a case that I guess aliens isn't exactly the right word, but I would make a case that like there's other things alive in the universe somewhere.
It's nice you mentioned that because when you ask, have you ever experienced something? Mm-hmm. I've had an alien encounter, which I now know was a delusion. So
really,
yeah.
Like, can I hear about that? That sounds very interesting, actually.
It's a pretty long story. To sum it up, I lost an entire day. I have no recollection other than just a few shards of that particular day. In that day, I traveled from the Netherlands to Basel in Switzerland and back. At least half of the journey there and about half the journey back. I have no recollection of that either.
Holy shit!
And turned out that when you're experiencing a lot of stress, your brain can really play tricks on you. That's basically what it boiled down to.
No, absolutely. I'd make a case that and the things that I've been talking about, they've been very infrequent throughout my life. This isn't like a normal thing. And the last thing I just described, I wasn't like particularly stressed or anything at all. It was just a very normal day. I know you already prefaced this by saying, it wasn't drug induced or anything necessarily. Because
I was a truck driver at the time, and I can tell you, I was scared out of my mind.
Oh yeah,
and I didn't talk about it except from my girlfriend. I'd never mentioned it to anyone for at least a couple of years. And the disc in my truck that tracks the speed, I removed that because I would have been fired. I drove that truck full speed on the German Autobahn, so that's probably twice the speed allowed.
Yeah, that's fucking insane, man.
And so that would have gotten me fired, and I still have that disc as a reminder that it actually happened, and I still don't know what happened exactly.
Okay, well, I mean that's fair. Again, a lot of my cases for things really just boil down. At the end of the day, you don't really know. You don't know until you know.
Exactly.
And there are things that at least are very hard to prove. There's too much in the world that we just don't understand. So, I don't know if y'all have anything else for me. Y'all have all been very educational, and I've appreciated you having me. So,
it was a good conversation. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me once again. Y'all take it easy.
And thanks for sharing your experiences. That was very interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys got something out of it, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
if there's a good conversation, we get something out of it.
Excellent.
And I think this one was a good one.
All right. Well, again, y'all have a good one. All right.
Thanks a lot. So we've been running for about 7 hours today. We were originally intending 4. It's funny how these things go. And I think we've had some really great conversations today.
I agree.
Agreed.
I agree.
Sometimes.
But
you're saying we're not going to get to 8 hours, but we're also nowhere close to the time that you wanted us to get to.
Well, yeah, we wanted to try to keep it down a little shorter, and it's just that the guests who we've been speaking with have been so interesting, so we end up losing track of time.
As close to 4 hours as possible, Peter.
Can I say that we still have a fair amount of people in here? We still have a fair amount of people on YouTube, and I want to thank everyone for coming, because that actually is what makes things like this worthwhile doing.
Yeah, a special thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Really appreciate you joining in. We will be here again next fortnight. That's 2 weeks from now, because this is a fortnightly program that we're running, and we look forward to seeing you there. If you know of anybody who would be interested in this program for any reason, please feel free to share the YouTube address with them, or the politics Discord, which is at discord.gg/politics. To get to the YouTube channel where I host this is at youtube.com/Randolph Richardson. That's Randolf Richardson. No matter, it's spelled with an F, not PH, no matter what autocorrect tells you. And we'd be very happy to see all of you and more again in the future. Jack and IX, did you have anything you wanted to say before Taco finalizes everything here?
Nah, I gotta dip out. The missus is giving me the stink eye.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, Jack. It's good to see you again.
Take care, guys. Thanks, Taco.
Thank you, Everett.
Just 2 shout-outs.
Oh, as many as you like.
I would recommend, if people want to learn more about a lot of the topics that we discussed, if you want to get a pretty good rundown on most of the arguments that you hear about people talking about with regards to for and against theism, there's 2 websites I would recommend. One is religions.wiki.
Sorry, could you also post these into the Heathen Hangout chat, and I'll replicate them to the YouTube chat?
Yeah. So religions.wiki is a wiki that was originally like the debate prep notes of Matt Dillahunty for sort of atheist debates, but lots of people worked on it, and it's been expanded, and it's a very good rundown of all the different types of arguments that people make for and against theism. Rational Wiki is a good catch-all for things like ghosts and the supernatural and aliens and ESP and whatever else that people sort of tangentially connect to theist debates. And if you want to get into the study of the Bible and its origins and other like Abrahamic texts, I highly recommend Discord communities focused around that, or other research topics. But I would start with one called Academic Biblical Criticism, which you can Google.
Okay, I've got Rational Wiki's link. I'm familiar with that one. That's a good one. The other one I didn't quite get.
It's religions.wiki. And Academic Biblical Criticism, I don't know the link to it, but you can Google it. It's Academic Biblical Criticism Discord.
Okay, well, I've got these.
I'll pin it.
Great. So, and I've just replicated into the YouTube chat. Thank you very much for that.
Can I say one last thing?
There it is.
If people are interested in conversations like this, but think this is too short amount of a time, they can DM me on Discord or on Twitter, YTGGFI, and we'll have you come on our show where you get an hour and a half to have a conversation. We're always looking for good guests.
Awesome.
Shameless plug.
So, and the other thing is, for people who are looking at this later on, if you want to join the Politics Discord in the future that hosts these kinds of shows very gracefully, and we very much appreciate having the stage here with them, you can type into your web browser discord.gg/politics. I also run an organization called the Canadian Atheists, which you can find out more about at www.canadianatheists.ca.
And again, thank you for streaming this to YouTube, Randolph.
No problem.
Much appreciated.
You guys are all awesome. There's tons of links in Heathen Hangout. Check them. Click them. Thank you, everybody. We're closing this out now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye, everyone.